Good afternoon. It is 12:31 here on a Wednesday. I'm Jane Monreal on Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. We continue to follow the delays through security at the airports across the nation because of this partial government shutdown. DHS officials are testifying to Congress on the shutdown's impact. We can see here in Houston that those lines are long. They have been for weeks now as TSA agents either are calling out or just outright quitting. So a hearing is taking place right now. It is the Transportation Security Administration and DHS officials talking to House lawmakers about what they're saying is the negative impact of the department's partial shutdown on operations. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Circumstances. We need FEMA. In Texas, it's a critical organization. We need you to be functioning. I'm ready to fund all 4 of your agencies right now. I was ready to do it before I voted to, signed on to make that happen. But unfortunately, partisanship is getting in the way of you guys being funded yet again. It's another exhibit in a long line of exhibits of how dysfunctional Congress is. Because right now, Republicans, they could fund you, but they're choosing not to. There is a vehicle on the table to fund each one of your agencies right now, and Republicans are refusing to do it. And let me just tell you why we're saying this is critically important. In my district, a constituent that I had was part of the Afghanistan evac program. He worked alongside our military in Afghanistan, was brought to this country by the United States of America. We brought him and his family here. He was detained by ICE and taking his kids to school, and he's dead 24 hours later. And that cannot be allowed to happen in this country. He's a father of 6, was working. Do you know how many criminal convictions he has? 0. That is why ICE is so broken, and that is what is so wrong. And your agencies should never be held hostage to justify the rogue terroristic attacks that these agents are doing upon the citizens and the people of this country. And I am sorry that Republicans are holding you hostage, because we want TSA functional. Our air traffic control system is fundamental to this country. The Coast Guard, you do admirable work, sir. And the men and women in the Coast Guard are heroes and should be paid. But what is happening and what happened to my constituents should never be allowed to happen in this country, and we're going to hold the line until we can make some serious corrections to what ICE is doing. And I'm out of time, and I yield back. Oh, wait, one thing. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to offer into the record an article titled U.S. Flight Attendants Demand Pay for TSA to Keep Airports Secure and Not Create Havoc with ICE.
Without objection. For clarification purposes, House Republicans have voted to fund the Department of Homeland Security twice, including the 4 agencies that are here today. So that's for clarification purposes. I now recognize the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Evans, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman, Ranking Member, and of course to the witnesses for coming. Wow, I can't believe I just heard my ears. I spent 12 years in the U.S. Army, deployed overseas as part of the global war on terror, another 10 years in law enforcement. I literally just heard my colleague across the aisle say ICE is committing terrorist attacks. I don't think you can get a clearer example of where folks stand when my colleagues on the other side of the aisle compare federal law enforcement to terrorists at a time where we have literal terrorists that I deployed to fight committing attacks in the homeland. That's incredibly disappointing to me. It's incredibly disappointing to me because as a police officer for 10 years, I know what the path was that led me to Congress. I watched all of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle push to defund law enforcement. They ran on this message. They opened our borders, and that's what's happening today. Democrats continue to defund the police just by refusing to pass the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations bill. I know it. I saw it as a cop. It's what's playing out today, and they've done it not once, but twice. This isn't conjecture. Go look up the votes. H.R. 7147. This is the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations bill. Look up the votes on H.R. 7147. Look up the votes on H.R. 7747. This is the second Department of Homeland Security Appropriations bill. Go look at the votes, follow the actual facts. And then, Mr. Chairman, not just me saying this and referring to the votes, this is The Hill. I'll read you the headline, DHS shutdown stretches to 35 days as Democrats block funding bill. A motion to advance the bill failed 47 to 37, falling short of the 60 votes it needed to overcome a Democrat filibuster. Centrist Senator John Fetterman was the only Democrat to vote yes. Mr. Chairman, with your consent, I move to admit this to the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. We know what's happening right now. We have the Department of Homeland Security shut down because Democrats have never moved on from defunding the police. They've never moved on from their open borders policies. The votes back it up. The Hill backs it up. And while this is happening, critical agencies like CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is being shut down. CISA has blocked billions of cyber threats to our civilian networks and critical infrastructure in 2025. The Coast Guard, key to combating drug trafficking in the Western Hemisphere, and I'll remind my colleagues, drugs under the previous administration killed 400,000 Americans. That's shut down. Wildfire risk in Colorado is at an all-time high due to drought and an unusually dry winter. The Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, which ensures that law enforcement is trained, is shut down, which is ironic because I keep hearing from Democrats that they want ICE agents to be trained better, but they're shutting down the very entity that helps with federal law enforcement training. TSA callouts are at a record high across U.S. airports, and as of today, 460 officers have left TSA. Travelers are seeing long lines, and you can see behind me that we literally have Denver International Airport, which is the airport I fly in and out of, asking for gift cards and donations to their TSA agents so that they can maybe make ends meet and keep coming to work. And so my first question to Administrator McNeil, how many people, especially parents, would accept a job with the promise of intermittent gift cards instead of a secure paycheck, and how have these shutdowns impacted your agency's ability to recruit and retain officers?
I think you're absolutely right, Congressman. We have heard a report back of folks that have been interested in joining the TSA and had plans to But, with the situation this year and us being in our third shutdown, it's really hard for them to go home and tell their family, this is the job that I'm going to take. It's a job that pays me half the time for my work. And so I think that is really a challenge for us. And then for the officers that are there, they're continuing to show up under duress, honestly, right? Financial duress, and they're continuing their commitment to the traveling public, and we could not be prouder of them.
Our thanks to those TSA officers. In my remaining 45 seconds to FEMA, I spent 12 years in the U.S. Army, Black Hawk helicopter pilot. I've flown on wildfires, fought wildfires. We're facing historic drought in the West. Tell me how FEMA not having the funding impacts their ability to do the pre-planning for some of these major disasters, including wildfires.
Yes, Congressman. Like I mentioned earlier, we have about 45,000 people a week. Those are emergency responders, leads for states on response efforts that are missing out on critical training. Wildfires are ongoing, as you know, right now, and those impacts of them not getting that training may not be measured, but it is being missed out. I hear every day from external partners how much it's impacting them.
Our national security is at risk. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. Yield back.
Gentleman yield back. I now recognize the gentleman from Puerto Rico, Mr. Hernandez, for 5 minutes questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are over 700 TSA employees in Puerto Rico right now who are about to miss their third paycheck. And there is a proposal to fund TSA and pay these employees. The Republicans are holding back on it. I think this is a disgrace. Ms. McNeil, President Trump has ordered ICE agents to airports to supplement security during this shutdown, correct?
That's correct.
And those ICE agents are getting paid, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
And those TSA agents they're supposed to support are not getting paid, correct?
That's correct.
So we have a policy in place where we don't pay the people who are qualified to do the job. As a result, they're missing out, they're not going to work, they're quitting, and we're sending people who are getting paid to do a different job. How is that fair?
I don't think that's policy. That's a matter of not having funding.
It's a matter of not having funding, and there is a proposal to fund it and to solve this problem. But we have a system where we have a group that is paid to watch the lines and then highly trained TSA professionals working for free. Now, you'd agree that a TSA officer is better qualified to handle aviation security than an ICE agent, right?
That's what TSA officers are trained to do.
Right, so we are penalizing the most qualified people. What is TSA doing right now to keep those families who are not getting paid from being evicted?
I'm here today to ask for funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
They're not doing anything, and they're not expressing, and you as an agency head are not expressing support for proposals to fund TSA and delay funding for ICE, who are getting paid. What are they doing to...
That is your responsibility to fund the U.S. government.
And there is a proposal in place for that, and Republicans keep rejecting it. What are they doing to help feed those employees and their families?
We're doing
Nothing.
food pantry.
Now, is it true that DHS
Donations?
has told state governors that they can't support federal employees with state funds?
That is not true. There are laws in how we can use donated funds, and where they have offered, we've been
Has
able to deploy
TSA
that to
told
support our-
governors that they cannot pay TSA employees their salaries?
That is correct. That is a matter of law.
Is that a matter of law or a matter of policy?
It's a matter of law, from my understanding.
Do you support changing that law in the future?
Well, that would be the role of Congress to change laws.
But would you support it? Would you support paying TSA employees in spite of government shutdowns in the future?
I think that we need to look really hard after we come out of the shutdown to ensure that the continuity of our operations.
We have proposals for that, and they have not been voted on. I want to move over to FEMA. Ms. Barden, how many FEMA staff are currently reporting to their workplace but not performing work?
I'm not familiar with your question.
We've seen reports that many FEMA employees are being asked to report to work but not to do any actual work. Is that correct?
Everyone who's reporting to work in my staff is completing the functions that they're allowed to do under the LAPS guidance.
Well, we are concerned to learn that FEMA leadership issued an agency-wide directive last month ordering all activities to cease, including work by staff funded through Disaster Relief Fund. who are still being paid during the shutdown. And these are the very employees responsible for overseeing long-term recovery efforts, like the projects underway in Puerto Rico. These projects operate on strict performance timelines. Every single day counts, and delays are not an option. And this is compounding existing delays caused by the previous secretary's disastrous policy requiring personal approval for FEMA projects over $100,000. And now we're hearing that FEMA staff are just sitting around playing video games and watching TV on the clock. That is a complete waste of taxpayers' money. Now, how is this stop work order impacting long-term recovery for places like Puerto Rico?
I'm not familiar with the exact stop work order. It may be the previous DHS guidance that went out, so I will look into that and get back to you. I understand we do have new leadership.
Okay, thank you. No,
but
you can
how-
get back to us on that. And now, because I'm almost out of time, the director of FEMA's recovery office in Puerto Rico was fired last month on the same day as a meeting between then Secretary Noem and our governor. DHS has not provided us or the public with a reason for this termination, and we find it suspicious that FEMA's recovery director for Puerto Rico was fired mere hours after their meeting. Did you have a role in Mr. Garcia Martino's termination?
In my capacity, I'm at FEMA. I'm not privy to how that meeting was, and I was not part of that meeting.
But did you have a role in his termination?
No, I did not.
Do you know why he was terminated?
I'm not familiar with the exact details, but I
We
have
think
to follow up.
transparency is important, and we find the timing of this suspicious and disruptive to Puerto Rico's long-term recovery efforts. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields back.
And we'll get back to the DHS lapse funding hearing in just a couple of minutes. First, a break on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Time right now is 12:47 here on Live Impact News. Take you back out to D.C. with the House Homeland Security Committee holding a hearing that is trying to address the funding lapse for DHS, including TSA, and what they're saying is assessing the harmful impacts of this partial shutdown. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Those undertaken by our firefighters. How are U.S. Fire Administration operations, including the National Fire Academy, being affected, and how could a prolonged shutdown impact the preparedness of firefighters across the country?
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you for your service. The USFA has had to cancel several of their training and postpone that to include Police Week that they host in Emmitsburg as well. These critical trainings being postponed are impacting training and responsibilities throughout the nation, as well as the opportunity for emergency responders to coordinate and share lessons with each other in person.
Thank you. Admiral Allen, I was encouraged to see the Coast Guard exceed in fiscal year 2025 recruiting goals, and I was especially glad to see the announcement of the new training center in my home state of Alabama, which will help strengthen the Coast Guard's workforce pipeline. However, that kind of momentum can be fragile during funding lapse. How has the current shutdown disrupted recruiting, training, and your programs?
Sir, thank you for that question. Just a couple points on that. So as we try to get recruits to our training center, Cape May, we're seeing about a 10% delay in those guys actually getting there. So we are already falling behind on the numbers that are there. Second, our food services culinary specialists that make the food there, they rely on vendors in the towns to deliver food. We are not paying those vendors anymore, and we're worried that any day they're going to stop showing up with food to pay our recruits that are at our training centers and our other places.
Thank you.
And then I think, while we've had great retention, now we are dealing with, hey, if you go to other services, you'll get paid. DHS, continues to be a question.
Thank you. Ms. Barton, FEMA Center for Domestic Preparedness is in my home state of Alabama. Are the students that are typically trained at the center, how would you assess the impact of these classes and postponements of national security and readiness overall?
Overall, there's been several training, about 45,000 students and emergency responders who are able to participate in those trainings are having to postpone those. Travel has been canceled. I hear firsthand the impacts. Many folks are getting concerned the closer we get to hurricane season and just all the various response situations that come up. There may not be an exact metric, but as the days go on, it continues to get worse.
Thank you. Thank you. And Chairman Garbarino, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from New Jersey, Ms. Poe, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the ranking members, and thank you to the witnesses that are here today. I'm really very happy that we are having this discussion. We all recognize that the Department of Homeland Security has a critical mission to protect American people. This is why my Democratic colleagues and I have introduced legislation to fund TSA, FEMA, CISA, as well as the Coast Guard to end this shutdown. Sadly, Republicans are blocking these bills to stop reforming ICE and are holding agencies hostage to hide responsibility. The deployment of violent agents into cities like Minneapolis shows why we cannot give ICE a blank check. We cannot continue to let them terrorize our communities and kill our neighbors. And we should get them out of our airports now. Last summer's reconciliation bill gave ICE and CBP enough funding to sustain themselves for years. So why then are Republicans still asking for more money for ICE? If my GOP colleagues cared about keeping our country safe, they would sign our discharge petition and force a floor vote on our bill to fund TSA and other DHS offices like FEMA and the Coast Guard immediately. Our bill would do everything possible to fund the Department of Homeland Security while supporting reforms that are supported by Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike. The problems we've seen over the last several years, the last several weeks, let's be clear, the last several weeks are not all due to the shutdown. Yet DHS has launched a misinformation campaign to mask their own failures by blaming it on the shutdown. Let me give you an example. The FIFA World Cup Security Grant Program. Last summer, Congress approved $625 million for host cities to enhance security and preparedness for the games. FEMA, an agency the president has gutted, was tasked with administering this grant program. Initial estimates place the delivery of these federal dollars in the hands of host cities by late fall. On November 12th of last year, FEMA's own announcement stated that this money would be awarded no later than January 30th, 2 weeks before the DHS shutdown began. But let me just be clear. If you go to the FEMA website, their very own website, which was published and released last year in August 13th, in 2025, it indicated that it would be awarding many of these projects by no later than September 30th of 2025. That was last year. We are still today talking about this. But what FEMA has done, it has absolutely blew past all of those deadlines, leaving host cities in the dark on if this security funding would ever be delivered. Clearly, it was only just delivered for some of them, not all, just this past month, after so long, after so many of us talked about that. Our committee heard testimony from tournament organizers about the chaos and the uncertainty FEMA's delays caused. The growing backlash forced former Secretary Noem to imply that she couldn't award this money because of the shutdown. But last week, all of a sudden, the money was made available anyway. Well, which is it? Is it the shutdown? Is it last year's announcement? What is it? Clearly had absolutely nothing to do with the shutdown. Ms. Barton, thank you very much for being here. You worked in the office of the Secretary. Why blame the shutdown for DHS' own failure to deliver the World Cup grant funding on time?
Congresswoman, I also share your concerns on delays. However, we will say that this is the third shutdown we've experienced. And
Absolutely, no.
During
I'm sorry,
shutdowns,
Ms.
we
Barton.
prioritize the
My
most
question
urgent
to
life.
you was, why would you blame the deadline, the failure to submit those grants on time on the shutdown, when in fact that occurred prior to the shutdown? Please just answer the question. Unless you are unable to answer it because of your own department's very own doing. So please just answer the question. Why blame the shutdown on something that you all had the ability to do prior to the shutdown?
When turning on a machine after being off for over a month, these impacts are going to go beyond. Even though we get funded, the impacts will happen.
Ms. Barton, did I not say that we had the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, sorry. Thank you for your levity. Ms. Barton, I clearly am out of time. Mr. Chairman, thank you for giving me that, the ability to speak beyond that. Let me just say that that's a question that still lies in front of us. We certainly need to do something about it. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Fong, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the panelists for not only your testimony, but your service to our country and your teams as well. America's Homeland Security is not a political game. Every agency tasked with our Homeland Security needs to be fully operational at full strength, period. Last month, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bipartisan funding package for the Department of Homeland Security. Regrettably, Senate Democrats chose to abandon this bipartisan and bicameral deal, which brings us here today. Our nation, unfortunately, is less safe, and Homeland Security personnel are continuing to work without pay. In my home state of California, we are preparing for the World Cup. We're preparing for the Olympics. However, attendee safety and the success of these games hinge on the Department of Homeland Security's ability to work with state and local law enforcement agencies, even through government shutdowns. I wanted to ask each of the panelists, I know each of you have a different role to play in the planning, but have there been any key planning milestones that have been missed due to the shutdown when it comes to the planning for these international events? And if DHS were fully funded today, how long would it take to get back on track? And we can start from the Admiral and go on down.
Yes, sir. As we do planning for these big events, we have missed milestones, and our estimate is every day that there's a shutdown, it takes us 2.5 days to recover.
Ms. McNeil.
Congressman, I guess that the impact is felt really on multiple fronts, but first it's about staffing the airports that are supporting the FIFA locations, and we have plans in place, but that is based on.
And again, we continue to follow that oversight hearing, assessing the impact of this partial government shutdown. We'll continue to follow that out of D.C. First, a break on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Just after 1 o'clock here on a Wednesday, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. It is the day after the birthday, the day of her birth. Miss Brittany Van Voorhees, she's here. She's bringing her maturity, her age, her wisdom, her knowledge, prowess. What else are you bringing?
You know, waking up for the first full day of 33 is just substantially different than 32, Jane.
Is it?
Crazy.
Talk to us. Is it an overnight feeling?
I don't really think so.
No, it's kind of the same, isn't it? Really is.
No. But I will say, and I said this on Facebook yesterday because I did like a little post, I do think 2026 has been kind of a rough, like last few months for like me and my family. And so I do think it's been a big last few months of learning about like showing up for myself, my friends, you know, my family, and just making I don't want to say making every day count because to me that seems a little bit cliche, but making sure every single day, like, matters even when you're like your most sad, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's being in your body and being present.
Yeah, not looking so much forward to like the next thing that's going to happen.
And having the self-awareness.
Yeah.
And it is a practice.
In this business, we're so like, what's next?
I'm looking
what's
forward to my next deadline. I've got,
Yeah.
I'm always looking forward to the next,
thing. in
the
our
next
lives.
project,
Right.
which could be in July.
Or
Right.
yeah, or the next wedding, or the next time, like the
Yeah.
station, we have a big event like the Olympics just to happen.
Exactly.
I talked to my grandma for probably an hour or so yesterday, and one of the things she was saying was that when my grandpa died unexpectedly for her, yes, it was traumatic, but she also appreciated him not being like sick for a long time, that it kind of was like a slow burn.
True.
But then it also hurts a little bit because they had so many plans still. I mean, he was almost 89 years old, but they were still
Things to
they had a
do.
cruise coming up in a couple months, and they were going to my little brother's law school graduation. So that has been, hard.
Yeah.
But sure, she's very close with her sister, so she's been able to kind of like take his place in a lot of these trips and stuff. So that would be nice for them.
Okay, good.
But it's just, she was like, sometimes I look at the chair in our, little
Right.
library area, and I'm angry, that he's not here. But at the same time, she's like, we had so many 50 plus years together, so I'm
Right.
grateful for that. So
And it's still so fresh.
yeah, less 2 months
Yeah,
essentially.
no, that is fresh. So the process is.
Although I did feel really bad because I made some people on social media think that it was my dad on accident, I guess.
oh dear.
And so I texted my dad, and it was my dad's dad yesterday. And my dad has a very morbid sense of humor, as I do as well. And so I texted my dad, and I said, Dad, I accidentally made Facebook think that you were dead, so I'm sorry to hear about your passing. And all he said back was, I'm sorry too.
I'm sorry too.
And I was like, yes, this is where my sense of humor comes
Yes.
from.
Oh, well, and then also in that is a gift.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah.
So
And
good. You
we'll
have a
just
good
keep
birthday?
on trucking.
Yes, that's what we
Yes.
do. You had a good birthday week?
Yes, Monday night got to do the Charlotte Ghost Tour. I don't know which one, or I would shout them out because I did not buy the tickets. But Carlene was there.
It was fun.
Yep.
I learned a
You had a
lot.
good time?
Yeah, we learned about
Yeah.
the Dunhill Haunted
the Dunhill Hotel.
in Uptown.
Yes.
The Carolina Theater. We have Megan's fiance. Worked on the the
Yep.
Carolina Theater's rebirth, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And I did not know that it sat in ruin for like, what was
Sat
it,
in
47
ruin.
years or something. So it was so cool to see it, and hear about how it was. But allegedly, he has seen the ghost himself. So
Stephen James.
I know.
Stephen James.
We invite
Shout
you.
out.
We'll get him on
to-
the
Yeah,
phone.
seriously.
yeah.
So
Invite
that
you
was
to
fun,
bring
and
your
just
testimony.
yesterday getting to talk to my grandma. We haven't been able to sit down, and I got to FaceTime my other grandfather, and like talk a little bit with my other grandma because they're going through their own thing. So it was just nice to get the family time. I haven't talked to my brother on the phone since like Christmas. I got to talk to him for a little bit and his girlfriend. So just nice to check in.
That's good stuff, Brittany.
Check-in time.
Yeah. And so a day of reflection, another trip around the sun begins for you.
That's-
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
We'll get copyright strike.
Okay, I'm sorry. We can do 14 seconds,
You
right?
do 14 seconds.
It's actually hilarious because one of my other friends who works in news in this market left me a voice memo singing happy birthday, and my significant other looked at me and said, when did she become Carlene Bragg? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. Carlene's normally the one who sings to
That's
me
the
and
one?
sends me a voice memo.
Yeah.
So, and now I got Jane too. So.
Well, then that is
Clip
my
the
birthday
video.
song to the peeps.
Yes.
It's a song everybody knows. So.
Yeah, it's better than the traditional,
Agreed.
Oh, for sure.
I agree.
right?
Well, now that we've gone in a full circle, zigzag, however you want to say, yesterday, my gift from Mother Nature was the fact that it was cooler. Because I know you both love when it's warm. And I'm not saying
I
I'm not
think people
saying
know
I
this
don't.
about us now.
We're warm
Carly.
I'm not saying I don't. However, this weekend was very warm, 83 and 87 respectively.
was awesome.
Yes, it was nice, but
Uh-oh.
it was 20 degrees above average. So again, you just want, at least me, myself, and I, on my birthday, just want to be a little closer to where we should be. Yesterday, though, was cooler. We were in the 50s. 5.7 was the high temperature, 57. Now today we're soaring about 10 degrees higher than that. So today is a little bit closer to normal, if not slightly above. So again, these big temperature swings, I know it can be exhausting. I know the pressure change when it comes to the storms, the cold fronts, the rain. That on top of the pollen can be a little atrocious feeling sometimes. Just remember that it will change. It will get better. Eventually by summer, you might even be wanting spring because you'll be wanting those little dips of cool when we can get them. Temperatures are already out there right now, 58 degrees, which is 1 degree warmer than our high yesterday. So again, we're still well on the way to get into the 60s this afternoon. The beautiful blue skies that we were seeing over the last few days are sticking around. Monday, of course, we were breezy. You felt that, especially if you were outside in the evening once it started to cool down. Again, at Carleen Bragg. And then yesterday, cooler in the morning, cooler in the afternoon. With that being said, with the breeze, the good news is that while our fire danger is still very high to extreme, our winds have started to die down. So that typically can mean that even if something were to spark, it won't spread as quickly. When you see a prescribed burn, which of course those are planned, there's a reason why they do them on days that are a little breezy, but not too breezy, because you essentially want it to burn. So you need a little bit of wind. You don't want stagnant air. You just don't want too much. So the good news is that the winds have died down just a hair, which means, again, if something were to spark, wouldn't have the opportunity to go quite as far. The low humidity, though, the dry fuel is still really, really hurting us. And I know we've talked about this probably a million times, 2 times over the last few months, but we don't have a lot of rain in the near future. And with the drought update coming out tomorrow, I would expect that more of our area locally will be likely under that extreme drought. Now, haven't heard a lot about any substantial changes when it comes to restrictions. I know City of Monroe is still under voluntary for some people if they want to just limit some of that water usage, but that's just the situation that we're in. And I have said it once, I'll say it a second or third time. But if you feel like you're exhausted by hearing about the drought, so are we, but it's just something that we have to continue to keep an update on, keep in mind. The closer we get to 20 inches of rain of a deficit, right now we're closer to about 16 in the next month we would need to get out. That's kind of the threshold. I think that things could start to intensify when it comes to our potential restrictions. Coming up, we do have a small chance for rain. Unfortunately, it is occurring Friday night, which means people heading into the weekend might be impacted. There are a few thunderstorms possible right now, not looking like a lot of support for any kind of strong storm, so that's good news. But at least it's not going to impact most of the day Friday. Here's 6 p.m. We have a few storms up in the mountains, getting a little bit closer to the metro around 9. I actually do think most of the day is dry. I think our best chance to see storms Friday is like 9 p.m. to midnight. A few areas lingering into Saturday morning, which likely results in some patchy fog, but it's just not going to result in much in terms of rain. Look at our rainfall forecast the next 7 days. We're barely looking like 0.1 inches. In fact, in the long range forecast, maybe we'll take to day 10 to get any kind of notable rain. And what's more, again, I hate to use the word concerning because I don't want to feel like I'm being super aggressive with this, because we could have a few good days of rain and maybe not get out of the drought, but at least get closer to normal for this time of year, even though we did end 2025 in a drought. But there's just not a long term right now signal that we're going to see a lot of rain, like in a consistent pattern. And Friday's event actually a few days ago was looking like more rain. So what we've noticed is it's been trending heavier, and then things kind of pull back, which again, you don't want flooding, but you do need a few good days of like a nice little douse is kind of what we're looking for. So fingers crossed. There's nothing really you can really do about it. I don't want to tell you not to do a rain dance. I can't say scientifically whether or not it works, but nonetheless, if you want to, you're a gardener, you need to get that, go for it. Go ahead and do it. The evapotranspiration too that happens after a big storm oftentimes can keep us just a touch cooler, at least for a day or two. So one of the reasons why we've been so warm certainly has partially to do with the fact that we've seen a lack of significant rain. And speaking of warmth, temperatures by Friday, next chance to get close to a record. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Friday's record is only 85 in Charlotte, because normally this time of year it's closer to 90. But nonetheless, here we are, March, 27th? 85, set back in 1950, and our current forecast calls for 88. So right now it's looking like a slam dunk. And this has nothing to do with the slam dunk because it's baseball. But the Knights also have their opening night, no pun intended, on Friday. Thankfully, because of that rain and storm activity pushing a little bit later, doesn't look like they'll be impacted too much. Maybe folks hanging out in Uptown right after. Temperatures behind the cold front, much chillier. 60s again, similar to where we have been the last day or two. With the cold front earlier this week, we do have a chance to briefly touch the upper 30s on Sunday morning, which is probably a day we're watching for some frost. But just like the last week or so, you can see we very quickly go from 60 on the 28th back up to 81 by the last day of March. Kind of hard to believe that we're almost one day away from that first day of April. I feel like January went so long, and then the last 2 months have flown by, but here we are, and we're learning to live more in the moment, Carlene,
Yes.
Jane, and myself. So we will be excited about every single day, regardless of the forecast.
What do you have planned for today? The future, but near future.
Well, right after this, I'm going to go back to the weather office and write my last Women's History Month story.
Oh, good. Who's it on?
So it's actually, now I'm going to go on another tangent. People are turning me off right now. I'm actually most excited about this one because.
Is this where you went to Raleigh for?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I was pitching the idea to do these, I wanted to do, a STEM emphasis, which is why I did the first female doctor in North Carolina who was born in Cornelius. I did first female meteorologist on TV who had a degree. And I did Dr. Christine Darden, who was from Monroe, one of the hidden figures. But I was sitting in the weather office, or the weather center, and I was talking to the one, the only chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich. And I'm like, I'm having a hard time finding the fourth one. A lot of this, because I was really trying to find a good STEM. And so I said, a lot of the STEM people really aren't even from the U.S., they're from other countries. So I was having a hard time finding like a North Carolina connection. He looks at me and he goes, oh, you should interview Dr. Kathy Dello, who used to be the state climatologist for the state of North Carolina. She works for the Department of Environmental Quality now. Wonderful, very smart woman. And I looked at him and I said, okay, because I love Dr. Dello's great. I love her. And I said, but why? Like, I didn't know what the STEM emphasis was. And he was like, well, she was the first female state climatologist for North Carolina, appointed in 2019.
Oh.
And I just looked at him and I go, the first?
It took that long?
And he
Not
was
too
like,
long
yeah.
ago.
And so, first of all, thank goodness for him, but again, she's wonderful, but that wouldn't have been on my radar, no pun intended, unless he had said something. So, and so actually when I emailed her, I said, I know it's weird because I'm always interviewing about climate stories, in the state, but I really think that this will inspire young girls. I was inspired by a female meteorologist myself. And when we went to meet with her, she said, I've said no to so many of these, but I just felt like this story felt different, which then now I have a little pressure because I got to make sure it's good. But
you gotta bring
the
it.
idea is just to bring awareness, and I think that's even important. I mean, 2019 to have a female
That's not
state
that long ago.
climatologist is
Yeah.
crazy.
That's like yesterday.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that story.
Yeah.
When is it happening?
Friday.
Friday.
Great.
Here in WCNC
Yes.
Charlotte.
Yepper.
Yepper. So she's going to work on that, y'all.
Yes, that's what are you guys doing in the near term?
In the near term,
Yes.
we're hanging out.
Okay, well.
You're looking at it, babe.
Well, and then
Well, you asked what I was doing. It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
We're staying in the
polite.
moment, in the
here,
moment.
here are the
moment,
moments
yeah.
in here in the Live Impact studio.
I'll probably go drink a Diet Coke.
I'm going to move over to close to the weather center for
Yeah.
WCNC Charlotte at
Oh, yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Can't wait
Of
to see
course.
you. I'll be on the
Hanging-
show too.
Hanging
doing
with
traffic.
the chief, hanging with you and
Yeah.
the chief, Mr. Panovich.
Yeah.
Is Nick here this week?
Nick is here. Sturdivant is
Okay.
here. I'm sure he'll sing at some point.
Yeah.
And
But I already got the real
you got the real
concert,
deal.
which was you and Carlene. So.
Word. What's this? Clock.
Wait,
Clock
We
that.
just learned this.
but this is
that.
applause, right?
This is applause.
Applause.
Okay.
And clock that. We're the real entertainment here. Clock that.
And
Show-
applause, because you
show,
are.
show the people, Carlene.
So, I'm confused.
That's all right. That is
That's clock it.
the middle fingers. Clock
and then
it.
this is applause.
Applause. Boom. Applause.
You are so cool.
Thank
She's
you.
too cool for school.
Stop.
How did you learn these things?
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay.
Which drivers?
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay. I didn't know if the Gen Zs in the newsroom were sitting there giving you the.
I know, because,
telling you what all the cool things were
She
every
is
day.
always here, and then the Gen Zs are out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you are the coolest
I
person
watch
probably in this
reality
whole
television.
newsroom.
She's
so.
the liaison via reality TV.
Hey,
All right.
it is what it is.
We gotta-
Hashtag not an ad.
Not an ad, just a fan.
Yeah.
But if they want to reach out, give you a call.
Reach us out. Live Impact.
Next time you
News.
come, next time you come on Live Impact News, you're wearing a beret that's got RuPaul.
I would love it.
You would look
Shout
so
out
good in a
RuPaul.
beret.
Shout out RuPaul.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank
See
you.
soon. And we'll see you in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We're going to clock it.
Clock it.
Clock it for 2. At 1:18 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, still counting measles cases up in South Carolina, in the upstate particularly. The leader, Dr. Bell, speaking right now on a live virtual presser. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Prior to the importation of this measles case, they have been successful. And so it is our work with communities to continue to encourage the protective measures that we need to protect our communities through vaccination will be just a major means in preventing ongoing spread, preventing spread for the potential risk of the importation of measles is something that we will continue to do.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. And I'm not seeing any other hands. I'll give folks a second or two to raise their hands. Allison?
Dr. Bell, are there any new updates on the cost to the Department of the Public Health response since the one that you all released of about $1.6 million previously?
We don't have any new updates about the costs. Those are still being evaluated.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that is all of our questions. I appreciate everyone for joining us here, and thank you, Dr. Bell, for your time as always. We are always happy to take questions via email throughout the week, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach us at media@dph.sc.gov, and we'll be happy to follow up with you then. Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
We are following some breaking news right now. A verdict has been reached in the social media addiction trial. There's a live picture right now outside the courthouse in Los Angeles where the attorney for the plaintiff said he hopes this trial has revealed the addiction crisis that he said was orchestrated by social media companies. Months ago, we heard from Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook and what it was meant to be. But this verdict in this landmark civil trial is now going to be a real talker as social media companies, the prosecution says that they should have taken some responsibility in influencing young folks and families. This was a case brought against the company, including Zuckerberg, by more than 1,600 plaintiffs, including over 350 families and over 250 school districts. So if this verdict does favor the plaintiff, according to NBC News, the companies could face damages to be determined by a jury. So the beginning of the beginning here, as we are waiting for the verdict.
I'm trying to get another shot for you.
Okay, we are just awaiting for the actual decision to be released as folks, their families, and other spectators outside the courthouse, federal courthouse, remain on standby. So as soon as we know, we're going to bring that to you here on Live Impact News. In the meantime, let's go back to D.C., DHS, with their hearing, an oversight committee hearing happening on this partial government shutdown now. Let's listen in on Live Impact News.
Have 60 votes to get to cloture before you can pass a bill with 51. He wants to kill the filibuster. And if he can accomplish this, then he'll do some other dastardly things. But killing the filibuster is his goal, and as a result of this being his goal, he is pushing the Republicans to use 51 votes, as opposed to continuing to use the rule that requires 60. The president doesn't care about the TSA workers. This is not about helping them. It's about getting his way, and he has complete control of the Republican Party. He really does. And given that he controls it, he is demanding that it obey his command to kill the filibuster. And he's providing them a means, a methodology by which this can be accomplished. Friends, the president does not really think that keeping these workers underpaid and not paid at all is an important issue as it relates to his presidency. I differ with him, and I want to defend the TSA workers as I close, because to send in ICE is an insult to them. There has not been any meaningful indications that the workers were not managing well the crowds that were there, the people who were coming in, the public, the flying public. There's not been any meaningful indication that they have been doing a good job. And to somehow conclude that ICE is necessary, notwithstanding the fact that a good many members of the flying public are antithetical to this, is an insult to them. I was in the airport just yesterday, and I had many people to approach me and tell me that they are afraid of ICE, and they would prefer that ICE not be at the airport. So I say, let's remove ICE, let's pass legislation to have the workers get paid, and let's end this attempt to eliminate the filibuster rule. The filibuster rule for the president is an obstacle that he plans to eliminate. I thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Ranking members are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr.
All right, back here now, live in the Live Impact studio at 1:25 on Live Impact News. I said moments ago that a verdict has been reached in what could be a landmark trial out of Los Angeles. It appears that the verdict says that a jury finds Meta and YouTube guilty in this social media addiction trial, and that means they could owe up to $3 million in damage. Meta found liable for negligence, so not guilty, but found negligent and failed to warn families of the addiction crisis that social media could be. Mark Zuckerberg from Meta took the stand not too long ago. It appears that we are looking at families who were impacted by this news. So we are waiting for the attorneys for both sides to come out from the courthouse. But okay, but nothing, we don't have any sound, any audio, I should say, from the field out there. Live picture from the NBC station and other media out in LA. But a spokesperson for Meta saying that these profound, quote, profound challenges were not caused by social media, and pointed to significant emotional and physical abuse. That was for Meta, but again, the verdict coming down saying that indeed social media, these companies, including Meta, YouTube, were negligent in warning families, including 1,600 plaintiffs, 350 families, and 250 plus businesses, that they should have held some responsibility to attributing to the addiction of social media, especially for young folks, which led to at least one suicide. We're going to come right back, take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Coming up on 1:30 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, and a local family says that they were blindsided not by a diagnosis but by a phone call the morning of a long-planned surgery. My colleague, WCNC Charlotte's Nate Morobito, joining us now here in studio with what you've been investigating, Nate, and how did we find out about this?
Yeah, I mean, so right before Christmas, this goes back to December, we found out from a mother that their child had planned, with a pediatrician's referral, with insurance's approval, and with a surgeon's guidance, to have a breast reduction to address pain and discomfort, something that is not uncommon. And on the day of that procedure, before they could even go to the hospital, they got a call from the anesthesiologist. Not from the surgeon, but the anesthesiologist. And the anesthesiologist told them that the procedure was canceled. Don't come in today. Your 16-year-old isn't going to get this breast reduction because this procedure is not justifiable. It's not medically necessary. Instead, it's geared towards transgender intentions.
So, yeah, oh, please.
No, I
go
was
ahead.
going to tell you why
Please.
initially this matters beyond the obvious part of this child having documented health issues to address this. At that point, winter break had started. This teenager would have enough time to recover and get back to school. And the family had hit their deductible. So the procedure wasn't going to cost anything. This is almost the end of the year. It's like almost the last week of the year.
Right.
And I just want to set the table there because I think that's really important. It's not only a jarring, surprise, it has ramifications financially. Knox, this teenager, also works. They took time off of work to deal with this. And they, as you kind of said off the top, were just blindsided.
And the family's calling this discrimination, right?
The family is, as well as an attorney here in North Carolina, who says that this kind of thing has become more common.
Okay. And then what does the medical staff say?
Well, let's start with, if we can, the law.
Okay.
Because a few years ago, and we covered this fairly significantly, Carlene, if you could show it on the screen, North Carolina House Bill 808. And you can see it there. This was passed. Governor Roy Cooper vetoed it. And then the General Assembly, I don't know how to say this the right word, they overrode the veto, right? They overrode it. And what it does is it bans gender-affirming care for kids in North Carolina. Except, I don't know if you can scroll down, Carlene, but if you go down, and I think it's this next page, there, among the exceptions is breast reductions when there is a physical disorder, meaning a doctor is not prohibited from going forward with this kind of procedure if there is actually a physical disorder going on. So what we've kind of learned through months of investigation here is that, and this is based on medical records as well, the anesthesiologist shared concerns with risk management and the legal department at Novant Health. This is where the hospital was supposed to be in Ballantyne, where the procedure was going to happen. And Novant Health agreed that this procedure should not move forward at that time. Now, we've gone back and forth, as has the family, trying to figure out where do things stand? Why was this really canceled? Should it have been canceled? And what the health system told us is they needed, and the family, they needed clarifying information. They needed more information. They wanted to review the medical records to make sure the procedure complies with best practices, with the law, with regulations, among other things. We were really curious how often this happens because this seems highly unusual for any procedure.
Yeah.
And Novant Health has yet to give us, in 2025, how many times do they have to pause or cancel or postpone a procedure because they had some additional questions about it. So I think that's really an interesting part too. And of course you have the transgender whole part of this too, but if you take that out of there for a second, this is about the law saying one thing and the medical field doing something different. This is about a transgender child not being able to get the same medical care that their peers are getting, even though the law allows it. So I think that's important, because this can be an emotional issue here, right? When we start talking about the trans community. Even if you step aside from that in a minute, lawmakers made an exception specifically for this.
Right.
And all the documentation that I've seen shows that this was to address a known medical, physical issue. And ultimately, an attorney told us what she is seeing is that people are assuming things instead of letting the facts guide the decisions. She says this isn't the first time she's heard of an anesthesiologist hitting the brakes on a procedure. And she says that two things usually are happening here. Either they're afraid of the liability,
Sure.
we're at a different point now with the rules both nationally and statewide, or their personal beliefs are getting in the way, and that's dictating their ultimate views. I want you to take a listen just for a second to Carol Lee. This is the mom who's trying to do right by her child, and we talked to her very early on in this process. So this is still fairly raw for her at this point. I mean, we text all the time now. We've talked a lot about this situation, but this is in the very early days of after finding out what happened to her child.
This is about a 16-year-old being denied medical treatment because somebody else decided that they didn't need it, who wasn't their doctor, who wasn't our health insurance. Somebody else who was, reviewing a file, saw the age, maybe saw a preferred name, decided this wasn't necessary, and would then put it into a different category of gender affirming care or transgendered intent. I think it's deplorable that, somebody in some back room pushing some papers can make this determination and completely halt a medical procedure that had essentially the sign-off of our pediatrician and the sign-off of a surgeon and the sign-off of our health insurance. It was going to be fully covered. I think it's crushing to kids who are actually looking forward to a medical procedure to improve the quality of their life, to just have it yanked away. And the fact that they waited until the morning of to do that, to me, it just screams malice.
So the family's still in limbo, I take it. And the hospital, they explain what is next. And did anyone reach out to this anesthesiologist?
So this is really what's been difficult for the family, kind of added on, is that they could not get a clear answer of where things stand. Early on, their surgeon said they got the okay, they can do the surgery. Novant Health said you can do the surgery now. But of course, he's concerned because risk and legals are now involved, and he doesn't really want to feel comfortable doing it anymore, and he feels like Novant Health one of their surgeons should do it. In the meantime, just like within the last week or two, Novant Health officially signed off and said, we're good with you doing this procedure.
Okay.
And in many ways, the family believes this validates their concerns from day one. Now, as far as the anesthesiologist and the medical practice, we had been reaching out for several weeks, gave a deadline, and this is really important, I think, for people to understand our process, because the last thing I want to do is blindside a person who's the subject of our investigation. I don't want them to find out in the news what we are reporting.
Sure.
I want them to know ahead of time. I don't want to surprise them. I want to give them the chance to respond if they want to. And we didn't hear back from the medical practice, and we didn't hear back from the anesthesiologist. I had found him on Facebook. I had messaged him, but you know how Facebook messages are. Sometimes you can't tell if somebody read it. So I found his phone number. I called him, and surprisingly, he picked up, and he told me he was in the operating room, and he was busy, and he hung up. And I followed up with a text message, laying out everything I had sent in the Facebook message. Again, now knowing that this is actually his phone, so that he knows when this story airs and when it publishes, it's not a surprise. We've given you a chance to share your side of the story, which is important because we're trying to understand the facts of the case. But we also want to make sure that you're not caught off guard by something that is significant, potentially to someone's reputation. So I think that that's really important in showing the process here. I mean, this is so complicated, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on here.
Yes.
And for us, we really took our time, as we tend to do, because we want to make sure we're right. We want to make sure we're covering the issue. I mean, this is the story of essentially a vulnerable population who now is, in some ways, falling through the gaps. And I think at one point, probably in the last month, I finally came to the conclusion, this is the real core question here. Do trans children have the same rights to medical care as their peers? And I think that's really the core of this story. The law says they do. But, just like in Knox's medical records, it says gender dysphoria as a diagnosis, it also says macromastia, which is abnormally large breasts. So you have both of these things happening here now. And as the attorney says, there are some assumptions going on that just because this child was born a biological female and is getting a breast reduction, there is the idea that this is all about gender-affirming care, even though the medical record suggests it's actually about a physical disorder.
Health. Okay. When can we catch your story?
So it airs tonight at 6. We're going to have our story online in depth. That'll air published at some point this afternoon. And, I know that this isn't over. I know the family's considering its options now. I mean, they just got approval to do the procedure. Do they go through Novant Health now to do this procedure? They're looking at their legal options here, too, because they believe Knox was discriminated against. I don't think this is the last time we're going to talk about this.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I'm just feeling the part where the deductible was taken care of. So, you got that last week of December. It's like, I know I do that all the time. Like, oh my gosh, we need to take care of stuff before the new year.
And the family checked off the boxes. I mean, they got a Novant Health pediatrician's referral.
Yeah.
They got health insurance's approval.
On top of doing all the right things that you do.
They scheduled the appointment. They took the time off from work. They planned it during school break. And then the rug's kind of pulled out from under them just a couple hours before the procedure. And this is like a big deal. Like, this is a big procedure. And just like that, nope, it's not going to happen.
All right. We'll see Nate Morbido's story tonight at 6 here on WCNC Charlotte. We hope you tune in. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 1:44 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, it appears that Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is holding a White House briefing right now. Let's go ahead live to Live Impact News out of D.C. in the White House.
They are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal. Here at home, we are now on day 40 of the Democrats' shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats in Congress are forcing American travelers to wait in hours-long lines at airports across the country, robbing TSA officers and other federal workers of their hard-earned paychecks that they use to feed their families, and causing billions of dollars in damage to our economy. A father of 3 recently told CBS News that he felt he had no other choice but to quit his job as a TSA officer and find other work as the Democrats' shutdown of DHS continues. This is the quote from the father, and I encourage everyone to listen. "I think the hardest thing is seeing the struggle that my wife was going through and not trying to bring more stress to her," the father of 3 said, "but seeing her cry every night, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to survive?" For the Democrats in Congress, the cruelty of this shutdown is the point. Nearly 500 TSA officers have quit since the Democrat shutdown began. President Trump, to alleviate this pressure, made the decision to send some of our amazing ICE agents to help alleviate that stress and address the long wait times. And for all of the critics of this solution a few days ago when it was proposed by the president, it is yielding results. Wait times have improved since ICE arrived, and they are doing everything in their power to help their fellow federal service members. But it's important to take a step back and remember, why is this even happening in the first place? For nearly 6 weeks, Democrats in Congress have kept DHS shut down because they care more about illegal aliens than American citizens. You have Democrat elected representatives in states across the country who are willing to inflict massive pain on their own constituents to fight for illegal aliens who broke our nation's laws to come here. In recent days, we saw the deadly consequence of this deranged policy of Democrat open borders and an illegal alien-first agenda. A beautiful 18-year-old girl, Sheridan Gorman, she was shot and killed in Chicago last Thursday morning while walking in a park with friends. The suspect in custody for murdering her is a Venezuelan illegal alien who was caught and released at the border by the Biden administration in May of 2023. Why would the Biden administration catch and release a Venezuelan illegal alien? That is not happening anymore under this president. But there are still tens of thousands, if not millions, of these illegal aliens in our country who seek to do harm to innocent Americans, like this beautiful young woman whose family will now never be the same because of her death. To make matters even worse, this monster was also released from local custody again after a shoplifting arrest, where? In the sanctuary city of Chicago in June of 2023. Again, another innocent American citizen had her life stolen from her because Democrats embrace reckless open border policies and reckless sanctuary city policies, which put criminals back into American communities. How many more Americans have to die before the Democrats end this madness? President Trump's position is very clear. He wants the federal government opened, he wants the Department of Homeland Security funded, and he wants the Democrat shutdown to end immediately. The president will also continue to call on Democrat leaders in sanctuary cities and states like J.B. Pritzker, where this young, beautiful girl was murdered, to cooperate with ICE and stop releasing illegal alien criminals into American neighborhoods. It is for the safety of every American citizen, including all of the people in this room. With that, I will take your questions, and here in our new media seat today, we have Gabe Fleischer.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Gabe, for being here.
Thank you. I have 2 questions for you. First, if the war in Iran continues past this current round of peace talks, and with thousands of troops on their way to the Middle East, is there a point, either a number of ground troops or a number of days, at which the president will consider seeking authorization from Congress?
Well, as you know right now, that formal authorization from Congress is not necessary because we're currently in major combat operations in Iran. The Department of War and the President, as I said, estimated about a 4 to 6 week timeline for the full completion of these military combat operations. We're again on day 25 today. And as a courtesy, nevertheless, the administration did notify Congress, the Gang of Eight, ahead of the launch of the operation 25 days ago. And we've also had our top national security officials go to Capitol Hill to brief lawmakers, again, out of courtesy and out of respect for them. So at this moment, it's unnecessary, but of course, the President and this administration will always abide by the law. Gabe, or you have a follow-up?
Yes,
sure, go ahead.
Second question. Just in my reporting, I speak a lot to young voters, many of whom voted for President Trump for the first time in 2024, hoping to have no more wars and to have lower prices. Now, with the war taking place and with gas prices going up, curious what President Trump's message would be to those voters who kind of swung into his coalition in 2024, but maybe don't feel the administration's going as they had expected.
President Trump is doing this for you. He's doing this for young people so that we are no longer threatened by a rogue terrorist regime in the Middle East that seeks to kill the brave men and women who serve in our country in the Middle East, many of them young people themselves, young men and women who serve this country honorably in uniform and have been threatened, killed, and maimed by the rogue Iranian terrorist regime for 47 years. President Trump finally had the courage to step up and do what's right by our national security, our homeland security. As for the temporary short-term fluctuation in gas prices, the president has said once these combat operations are over, this administration is going to continue to unleash American energy dominance. We're continuing to do that every day, and we're going to see prices at the pump go back down, just as we have over the past year because of this president. And don't think for 1 second if that the Democrats had their way, gas prices would be as they were under the previous administration, the Biden administration, record highs. This president is keeping them as low as he can during this short-term combat operation, and they're going to go right back down when this is over.
Thank you.
Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Just within the past few hours, Iranian state TV has said that Iran has rejected the U.S.'s 15-point plan to end the war. What's the White House's response to that, and have these talks hit a dead end?
They have not. Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual. So I am not going to negotiate on behalf of the president here at the podium. What I will tell you is these talks are ongoing. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details that have been exchanged between the United States and Iran at this time.
Well, yesterday the president mentioned a very big present that the Iranians had given the U.S. He wouldn't go into detail, but was it that ship that was carrying 2 million barrels of oil that made it through the Strait of Hormuz?
I'll let the president speak on that at the appropriate time.
And then finally, Caroline, today Iraq's government reportedly is planning to lodge a protest with the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal. There was an attack in Iraq that hit a military clinic, killing 7 soldiers reportedly. What's the U.S.'s response to that? Was the U.S. responsible for that attack?
I'll have to check in with the Pentagon on that, and we'll get you an answer.
Thank you, Caroline, too, if I may. Speaker Johnson today described the conflict as wrapping up, but the 82nd Airborne Division, they're typically deployed at the beginning of conflicts. So does the White House consider this conflict as wrapping up, or is it changing shape?
As I said at the beginning of my remarks, we are meeting our goals of Operation Epic Fury expeditiously. The president likes to maintain options at his disposal. It's the Pentagon's job to provide those options to the commander-in-chief. For any specifics on troop deployments, though, I would point you to the Pentagon.
And today, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner reiterated threats to potentially arrest ICE agents that were sent in to assist with these historically long TSA lines. He said, quote, "The president cannot pardon you." Has the president seen Krasner's comments? Does he have any response?
The president cannot pardon you for what? He's talking to the ICE agents who are handing out water bottles and are helping people move through lines at airports. It's a disgraceful comment. The men and women of ICE are great people. I would encourage this lawmaker, whose name I don't know and don't care to know, to actually sit down and speak with the ICE agents who are on the ground doing this important work, not just in our nation's airport, airports, but again, to remove violent, dangerous, illegal alien criminals from our country to protect this individual and all of us in this room and Americans across the country from murderers, pedophiles, and rapists who have been allowed into our country by Democrat politicians. Mario, good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Good to see you as well. Just given that the president postponed his original trip to China because of the war, should we infer that the war will be wound down and concluded by the time of that May 15th, 14th visit?
Again, as I've said, we've always estimated approximately 4 to 6 weeks, so you could do the math on that, Mario, but we do look forward, I know the president looks forward to going to China on May 14th and 15th, and of course, as always, we'll provide additional logistical details to all of you in the media for that trip, who I know look forward to coming with us as well.
One follow-up. Was that a precondition? Did the two leaders speak about the conclusion of the war? Was that a precondition for them to have this rescheduled meeting?
No, there was a discussion about the rescheduling of the meeting between the president and President Xi. President Xi understood that it's very important for the president to be here throughout these combat operations right now. He understood, obviously, the request to postpone and accepted it, which is why we have new dates on the books, and I'm happy to announce those to you today. Jennifer.
On the negotiations with Iran, are there still face-to-face talks planned perhaps in Pakistan? And who do you think would probably be going?
Again, I've seen a lot of speculation and reporting about potential talks that could happen later this week. Nothing should be deemed official until it is announced formally by the White House. I would not get ahead of our skis on reporting about any talks this weekend until you hear directly from us.
Does the president think that all of the allies will go along with whatever the U.S. concludes with these Iranians? Are you expecting that Israel and all the other allies will follow whatever agreement is made?
I think the president has shown that he is absolutely the leader of the free world, the head of the most powerful military in the world, and in various examples, so the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, the president has shown a very unique skill at getting our allies to get on board with what's in the best interest of the United States, but also the world in cases of foreign policy like this. Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So, is there a time frame as to when the first oil tanker can go through the Strait of Hormuz freely?
It's a very good question, Ed. I don't have a specific timeline for you today, but it's obviously something the administration is working towards as quickly as we can. And with respect to oil, as you know, the administration has taken a number of actions to stabilize the markets. We directed the U.S. DFC to offer reasonably priced political risk insurance for takers through the strait. We issued that temporary waiver to allow countries to purchase sanctioned Russian oil to alleviate global pressures. We're working with the IEA to coordinate the release of another 400 million barrels. We issued that 60-day Jones Day Act waiver. And then just today, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, if you missed it, in consultation with the Department of Energy, announced a temporary emergency fuel waiver to allow nationwide sales of E15, gasoline blended with 15% ethanol, to remove all federal impediments to selling E10 gasoline across the country. The emergency fuel waiver will temporarily waive the summer low volatility requirements and blending limitations for gasoline to provide additional flexibility to the fuel marketplace. So as far as tankers through the strait, something we're tracking very closely, but obviously the administration is coming up with creative new solutions by the day to keep the price of oil stable, something the president wants to see. And I know Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, EPA Administrator Zeldin are all working together closely to find ways to do that.
The president gave that 5-day timeline for pause in operations. Would a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz be one of the conditions that he would extend that?
That's only something the President of the United States can answer. I won't get ahead of him.
How about on TSA? Can I ask you about the TSA lines?
Sure.
Are the TSA lines, we've all seen the video of that from various airports, is that going to be what ends the stalemate in Congress to get DHS funded?
Well, look, it's the Democrats who have led to this stalemate over the past 6 weeks. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. And we have attempted in good faith.
And you've been watching live the White House press briefing for today from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. We need to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Just after 2 o'clock this afternoon on Wednesday here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, I'm Jane Monreal. We have been covering the partial government shutdown as today there is a House Oversight Committee hearing about this impact, especially on folks who are not being paid as we enter this 6th week. And that certainly affects a lot of travelers as TSA agents are either calling out or just quitting altogether. We're hearing at least 10% of them have not shown up to work across the nation. But we're also hearing that Charlotte Douglas agents are showing up to work, and we really appreciate that. Anna King is joining us from the airport right now because there's actually a way we can support TSA agents and employees at Charlotte Douglas. Hi, Anna.
Hello. Yes, that is what we're hearing right now. Like you said, TSA workers are showing up, and a lot of the travelers that I spoke to today tell me they are just grateful for them showing up, as well as I'm sure the airport is grateful that they're still showing up. So like you said, they are starting a new initiative where they are asking the community and just travelers to support those TSA workers who are showing up by bringing gift cards that will be donated to TSA workers. So they are asking for grocery or gas gift cards only that are $20 or less per card. They strictly said please do not bring cash or prepaid cards, and also do not hand gift cards to TSA workers. Give them directly to airport employees, and then they will be distributed to the TSA workers. So it's a really interesting push from the airport that is, though, receiving mixed reactions from the community. Of course, you have some people who are saying that they would love to help TSA workers out in this way. And then you have other people who are saying, although they do believe TSA workers need help, they think they should just be paid, and that should be the actual help. So we're seeing mixed reactions on the matter, but definitely an interesting push from the airport.
That is interesting. I was going to say, I'm traveling on Friday, and so I've been closely monitoring what our TSA folks are doing this weekend, and hearing that, the lines aren't too bad, that our folks are showing up. And I mean, I feel so appreciative. And at the same time, I'm thinking, while a lot of people are probably going through the line and saying, thank you, that they need some good old, hard-earned cash. And so I was actually thinking, what can I do? What can we do? So that's great. And the reason why they can't accept anything larger than $20 gift cards, Anna, is what?
That's a federal regulation. So they cannot accept gifts, and they definitely can't accept gifts from people directly. So as you're going through the line, do not hand them the gift cards or cash or anything like that. Again, you're supposed to give them to the airport officials who will distribute them to the TSA workers. So
okay,
yeah.
and you can find these airport workers just milling around the airport or at the ticket agents.
Yeah, at the help desk. They're pretty easy to spot, and you can also speak to the TSA workers that are at the line as you enter to get into the TSA line. There are TSA workers sitting there that they said you can ask some questions, and they'll definitely point you in the right direction. So.
Okay, very good. You are coming up on WCNC Charlotte. I know your story comes up at 4 o'clock, so we'll see you then. And that's that's a cool thing. That's why Charlotte rules. All right. All right, thank you, Anna. We'll see you at 4 o'clock on WCNC Charlotte. Cool. All right. Trying to do what we can, but we continue to follow, again, the developments from our Congress members and seeing when they can pass have an end to this partial government shutdown. Let's go ahead and take a break, regroup here on the other side. We'll see you in 2 on WCNC Plus. At 2:07 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'll get you back out to Washington, D.C. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt holding this afternoon's press briefing, and looks like she's taking questions from the press. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News.
The regime has changed in terms of...
I mean, has it not?
Well, the leadership...
Their entire leadership has been killed, and nobody has really seen or legitimately heard from this alleged new leader. So wouldn't you say there's been a change in the regime?
There's been a change in leadership. I mean, do you feel as though...
There's been a change in the regime leadership, which is what the president said. So thank you for confirming he was right.
I mean, do you feel as though you've achieved leadership level, or the personnel in place right now in Iran that you're satisfied with? I mean, have you...
I think it's too soon to say.
In terms of highly enriched uranium in Iran right now, is your expectation, I mean, the stated desire of the president has been to prevent nuclear weapons. Is your expectation that the end game here is that eventually Americans will be in possession of that uranium, or you'll somehow have some direct control over the highly enriched uranium that could be used to develop it?
Again, this is a point of conversation that continues. I think you know the means in which the United States would have to take in order to achieve that goal, and that's a decision for the president to make. Brian, good to see you, Brian Glenn.
Good to see you as well. Does the White House have a comment on a letter that was sent from Congressman Raskin to the DOJ alleging that the DOJ recklessly released damning information in regards to President Trump's documents?
Yes, I saw that letter from Congressman Raskin this morning, who I would add has zero credibility, and this letter was clearly a cheap political stunt. What the congressman did here, Brian, and for everyone in the room who's hopefully not reporting on this as fact, is that he took untrue and salacious claims in a memo that was produced by Jack Smith, who has been completely discredited for his lawfare and his witch hunts against this president, and that information was unverified. It never even made it into the indictment because it was so unverified. And what happened to that indictment anyway? It was thrown out. And Jack Smith has been proven, again, to be a prosecutor on a witch hunt against President Trump. He tried to throw him in jail ahead of the 2024 election. The Biden Department of Justice was fully on board with this lawfare campaign. And in fact, this story that was concocted by Congressman Raskin was so ridiculous, I understand his communications team reached out to some outlets in this room who responsibly said, we're not going to write this because this is just too much. However, of course, MS Now did write that story this morning because they continue to be left-wing propaganda for the Democrat Party. But I think Jack Smith has been proven to be a liar and a fraud, and this is, again, a cheap political stunt from a Democrat on Capitol Hill who I think wants to get himself on cable television. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, it appears that White House briefing is finished, so let's go ahead and turn our full attention now to our sister station out of Dallas, WFAA, covering the security incident in a North Park or Dallas suburb mall that's been evacuated on WCNC Plus.
Was the mall when all of this was unfolding?
So I had walked all the way through the center from the Macy's garage side to Nordstrom on my way there, and I saw crowds in the North Court food court. I saw employees and patrons at the businesses throughout. So not height of holiday shopping season crowded, but you are right, it's a vibrant shopping center, and there were other patrons in the restaurant and in the department store when we were asked to leave. I think there was some loitering because people left quickly and were hoping to return to finish conducting their business in the shopping center. As it became clear that the mall was seeming to be locked down, there were people also who had arrived there without their own transportation who were calling for ride shares, and those drivers were challenged to get close to the shopping center because of the way that traffic was being conducted by DPD, who arrived on the scene and started coning off access into the various inbound points.
All right. Hey, Catherine, this is Wheeler again. I just wanted to ask, were you all hearing anything as you're going out as far as explanation goes? Our Brittany Moncrief has been speaking with a mall employee here in the past few minutes, and they say that an alarm was set off, that usually they've had other alarms go off in the past and have never been asked to leave the building. This time they were asked to leave the building, and they say that they've been getting conflicting messages about different kinds of security incidents that were going on in the mall. So they were kind of getting mixed messaging there from authorities, and we're not really sure exactly what was happening. You know, without saying, you know, what it was, did you all hear any message of what it could be?
We did not hear any message of what it could be. We did not see any ambulances. We did not see any fire trucks. We did see police, and we were directed calmly and quietly out of the building. There was an audible speaker and a loudspeaker announcement to evacuate, but the mall was crowded enough that those announcements could not really be heard over the crowd within the shopping center. I only heard the loudspeaker announcement once I was already outside the building.
All right, that's Catherine Cuellar there. Catherine, glad you were able to get your dining party out as well too from the parking garage after the elevators were closed there. We're glad you're okay, and thanks for the heads up on this.
Thank you.
And another piece of information to pass along here, again, we've talked about just how busy this mall can be even on an early Tuesday afternoon. If you've been to North Park, you know that they have these themed events that go on inside. A lot of times it's a beautification sort of thing, and they do have the Flor de Ville going on right now, which is a flowers exhibit. Anybody who's been inside knows that they have these extraordinary planters and so forth inside. So probably more of a crowd than you might normally see on a Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, which is why, you know, the evacuation can be pretty difficult. We're hearing that Brittany Moncrief is actually able to go live with us right now and has found a spot to be able to set up. Brittany, what's the latest info you're getting there right across from the mall?
Yeah, so we're standing, like you mentioned, right across from the mall. You can see the AMC Theater from where we are. We're at Northwest and Lincoln Park at a strip mall that's right across the street. I'll step to the side so you can see behind me. All along Northwest Highway, every entrance to the mall is pretty much blocked off. You can see police right now. There's two ladies who are trying to cross the street to go that way, and they're not letting them on the premises at all. Even just about a block down, there's another point where police are stationed outside, and they're not letting anyone around. We can see some people across the street kind of coming over this way where we are at the strip mall. We can see them, I believe they're being evacuated out. So I think those evacuations are still taking place. We saw some people in uniform, so they appear to be employees from some of the businesses that's near the mall. So they've been coming across the street. They are letting a few cars out. I guess these are people who might have their own transportation, who are just trying to leave the premises. They're letting them out, but no one is able to come in. A little while ago, we talked to some people in this parking lot who work across the street at the mall, and they told us that they heard an alarm go off. This is maybe about an hour or so ago. They said there's been alarms in the past, but this is the first time they were told that they have to evacuate. They were getting mixed messages about what's going on. I won't say what those mixed messages are because we don't want to send anybody in any fear or panic, but they were getting mixed messages about what's going on. Some people, they just left their things there and immediately evacuated. At first, they were outside of the mall, just on the mall grounds, and then they were told that they had to leave the premises completely. So a lot of people right now are where we are, near that strip mall. It's like a Barnes & Noble that we're standing outside of, and just really just watching to see, sorry about that, this a little bit of the pollen, but just watching to see what's happening. And again, like I said, you can't get over to the mall at all. The ground is completely blocked off. They're not letting anybody walk over there, drive over there. We see security going around. There's some more people that are making their way back over across the street to where we are. So we're just standing out here just kind of watching to see what's going on, what's taking place. And again, it's all throughout Northwest Highway that these entrances are blocked off.
That information there we just saw a moment ago from HD Chopper 8, a Dallas Fire Rescue Ambulance over on the west side of the mall. That is Bodecker Street is where the ambulance is. But it's pulling into the Museum of Biblical Art, and that's the facility on the northwest corner of the mall. It's off of mall grounds. This is the facility, though, where that Dallas Police Command van, that big black van, that motorhome is what it looks like, that police officers use for huge incidents, it is already there on the scene. It's not unusual to see an ambulance to show up there just as a precaution, and that looks like that's what it could be here. The ambulance isn't racing to anyone over there, but the command van, actually, I don't see the command van there anymore. It was right next to those police officers who were standing outside. A number of folks outside. Anytime you hear police say not only leave an area, but get as far away from it as possible, clearly this looks like it was some kind of threat. There was no chaos of people getting out. We haven't heard of Dallas Fire Rescue actually transporting anyone to the hospital, so that's certainly the good news here. But if you work at the mall, if you have someone who works at the mall, there's the command van, the black one there in the center of your screen, or if you were hoping to go exchange something or buy something, we understand it might be 1 to 2 hours before police allow anyone back inside. It's a huge facility, as you said, and will likely take some time to physically clear this and go store by store, room by room. Here's the TxDOT camera showing the, looks like the southbound feeder road here right next to North Park Center. This is always, Jason, a crowded area between 75, Park Lane, Northwest Highway, and it's likely even more crowded now with police not letting anybody inside here.
Yeah.
You've been watching live our affiliate station WFAA out of Dallas, covering a security incident that's evacuating the North Park Mall. We'll continue to follow that here on the other side of a 2-minute break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 2:21 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we're going to take you back out to our sister station out of Dallas, covering a security incident resulting in the evacuation of North Park Center, a mall in the Dallas suburb. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Of this mall now, if so, you're talking about something on the order of a 2 million square foot building. That could take quite a while.
Yeah, it could take quite a while, and it looks like with the number of police there that is indeed what police might be doing with more more and more police officers showing up on the northwest side of the mall here. We're going to take a break from our on-air coverage and continue it on WFAA Plus, our streaming app. If you don't have it, you can download it there on your smart TV. We're going to continue to watch this, though. It's been going on for an hour and 10, 15 minutes or so. So join us there at WFAA Plus as we continue to watch and find out why North Park Center was evacuated within the last hour.
All right, as they take a break, we are going to switch gears now and go to Seattle. This is our affiliate station out of Seattle, and looking like they're discussing on putting a vote to NBA owners to expand to teams in Seattle and Vegas, including maybe a Seattle Sonics. Let's listen in to here on Live Impact News.
I don't really see how that really applies here because the Sonics themselves didn't up and leave.
Right,
I mean, they kind of got taken away.
It wasn't the players saying, "Hey, Seattle, we don't like you. We're moving to Oklahoma City."
Like, yeah, trust me. Like we never told you to root for the Thunder. Like you can root for the Sonics again when they come back.
I also like to educate because you were talking about the arena, so everybody would follow with me here. For the Sonics, 1967 to 78, they played at the Coliseum is where they played, and then from 78 to 85, they actually played at the Kingdome. That's right. Remember that building? Time. Yeah, this is a little. We're gonna have a test when this is all done. Then they went to the Key Center, the Key Arena Center, 85 to 94. A lot of people don't remember this though. I do remember 94 to 95. Well, they were renovating the Key Arena Center. They moved to the Tacoma Dome and actually played 1 year in Tacoma, and then it was back at the Key Arena for a little while. So their next home will be Climate Pledge Arena. Climate Pledge
Arena. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as you all know, like I'm pretty new to the city, right? Like it's my second year here, but I've been covering different sports in different cities for a while, and I remember I covered an NCAA tournament here in Seattle back in 2022, 23. It was around there, 23 maybe, and it was like only a couple years after Climate Pledge was made, and it blew me away, the facility. It was just incredible. So the amount of renovations that they went through to make this facility NBA ready, it is more than NBA ready. Obviously, they have the Kraken and the Storm playing there right now.
The arena's ready, the city is ready, and Kristen, we haven't even mentioned this. When people talk about the city of Seattle, you have to also talk about the rich history of basketball players. And this is funny. We go back in there, and somebody asked me once, why are the high school kids so good from the state of Washington? Well, Rich Marriott will tell you this. It rains all the time here. It's always raining in Seattle.
In the room, by the way.
So the kids don't go out and play baseball. They're playing basketball.
Yes.
And we can look through the history. I mean, Jamal Crawford is a name that hopefully somehow they'll bring in this organization. Right now working for NBC as an NBA broadcaster. But so many great players from this city went on into the NBA. DeJounte Murray currently playing. You got Paulo Banchero. A lot of kids have come from the city and played in the NBA, and it's going to be fun to finally have a city again with an NBA team. And who knows? We may get one of those kids that we've covered in the high school ranks now playing on the Seattle Sonics.
Young J.J. Crawford, by the way, class of 29, I think, in high school.
Possibly look for him.
Possibly. Class of 29 high school was actually just named to the USA Basketball Junior team. So clearly somebody to look for from Rainier Beach.
And there was a point guard for the Sonics by the name of Luke Rittenauer, went to Blaine High School. The Blaine Borderites, I believe, is their mascot. And to interview him when he was picked by the Sonics to wear that Sonics green to represent, the team that he grew up watching was such a big honor for him. And there's going to be more stories like that to come.
And Chris, you've interviewed quite a few players yourself during their time, including the late and great Lenny Wilkens. Yeah. What do you think would be going on through his mind if he were here today to see this happen?
Well, number one, well done to celebrate his life even before he passed. Sure. To let him see that statue outside, which sits right next to Sue Bird, two of the greatest icons for the city of Seattle that represent this city with basketball, what Sue has done. And who knows, we can talk about that. Sue did have a transition, but let's remind me to get back to this because my mind's racing. Sue helped out the Denver Nuggets. We could see possibly Sue not only helping the Storm, but the Sonics team as well. But Lenny Wilkens, a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame player, brought this city their first and only NBA championship. and stayed in this city, always was at events, always was at games, just incredible human being. And Todd Leiweke said it. He was a very close friend of mine, Lenny Wilkens. If we get this team back, we are going to honor Lenny in style. So
100%. And like you said, I mean, they did a great job honoring him while he was alive. Give people their flowers while they're alive,
Yes.
right? And so the fact that he was able to see all of that before he passed was just remarkable.
Absolutely. You mentioned Sue.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah,
Sue
what-
jumped
what-
and she do a help Storm, man. We saw her with the Nuggets a little bit, right?
Yeah, she did. She did have a position with the Denver Nuggets. It's definitely possible. Do I see it? I mean, I see that if Sue wants to do anything as far as development, as far as coaching, as far as anything like that, I feel like she's probably going to be taking the Becky Hammon route of, yes, you got your start in NBA, but you're going to get your finish in the WNBA. Because the WNBA is so strong right now.
It is.
That brand is incredibly strong, and the greats of the W only want to make it stronger. So I would be tentative to say that Sue would want anything with the NBA because she has her heart set on the W.
Another name to throw out, and I mentioned the Sonics have retired 6 numbers: Gus Williams, Nate McMillan, Lenny Wilkens, Spencer Haywood, Fred Brown, and Jack Sikma. They have also retired a microphone. Bob Blackburn, the original voice of the Seattle Sonics. My dad, we used to sit up on his rocking chair looking at Mount Rainier and just listening to Bob Blackburn on the radio. But there's another voice, Kevin Calabro, arguably one of the best NBA play-by-play TV commentators in the business, still doing it. There's a name, another great name to possibly bring back when the team comes back. I'm sure he has a contract that he's got to work through and all those types of things. But, I mean, just bringing back so many memories right now. If we could get KC back in Seattle, it would be pretty cool as well.
So we're thinking ahead a lot, right?
You
so
sure.
If the Sonics,
why not? We're done looking past it.
Exactly. We're only looking forward now. So if the Sonics do indeed return to Seattle, they'll likely pick up right where they left off in 2008. NBA insider Bobby Marks says.
Well, hopefully not there, because their record that year, Christine, was 20-62. It was their worst season ever. So hopefully we pick up a little better than that year.
Okay, a fresh start come after 20 years when they potentially do make it back for the 2028 season. See, Chris knows his stuff. But part of this, let's say when this does indeed happen, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are reportedly expected to give back Sonics their history, which includes their logo, the colors, green and yellow behind us, retired jerseys, and of course their 1979 NBA championship. So really, I mean,
and they
you
should,
mentioned
right?
Give it back. Yeah, give it back.
Otherwise, you and I are going there, right?
It's Seattle's, yes. So man, I need to actually get some of my own gear now if this is looking like it's going through. So
well, and then there's going to be that debate. Over the years, they've had different logos and different color schemes, and what are they going to go with? So it's going to bring up a lot of
as to whether they go a little more modern or they give the homage back to.
I would say a lot of it is kind of harkening back to the nostalgia of it. So we'll have to see. Very retro too, right? Okay, so if you're just joining us right now, we are awaiting a news conference with the NBA Commissioner Adam Silver in just a few moments, set to begin in about a minute. It's a developing story. We'll have much more straight ahead.
And we'll take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 2:32 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Got a great class at UNC Charlotte, a sports analytics program, but it looks like they're taking it to another level now that legal sports betting is here, allowed in North Carolina. So they're doing a project, I don't want to say cool project, but it's a project leveling up this sports analytics program. Miles Harris covering the story for us today. So this involves sports betting?
Yeah, this is a cool project. We can say that, right?
Okay, I can't say it. I didn't want to
it was
put it
awesome.
out there.
Yeah, no, it was an awesome project. So basically what the Professor John Tobias did was he had his class, one of the classes that he has, basically go in groups. Now, these groups would be divided. Some of the groups would be with people that have basketball or sports knowledge, some in between, not as much, and there are also people that may not have any knowledge of sports or basketball, and then there's also a group of people that are just specifically when it comes to data with sports, that's what they're looking into. So they divvy them up in groups, and they even kind of mixed them a little bit though too, and so part of what I got to do is I got to go see them present the project or their project on who they're picking for each game when it comes to March Madness and the Sweet 16, which will kick off again tomorrow. And so it was an interesting way for them to integrate sports betting and March Madness and just the whole educational portion of this as well. So he actually had a couple of interns build an application for them to put their places of their bets in. So they're not using real money, anything like that, and they were able to kind of place their bets, do all that, and then present on why they picked who they picked for their games. So
Okay,
yeah.
and are the groups just a random luck of the draw, putting a bunch of people?
Yeah, he did. He did that selection
like
process, and some of the kids, you know, whether they were, hey, I either know a lot about basketball, or I don't know so much, or I just look at the numbers from a data standpoint. That's kind of how they decided to divvy up and pick these groups to go in which direction. And so it was really interesting because I'm sitting in this and I'm like, I don't want to sound like an old head, but like I haven't been in college in a really long time. So, but to see how each one of these groups that did their presentation was different on how they made their selection. And so being able to hear the students also say, hey, like, I thought I was super biased. For example, a lot of people wanted to pick UNC to pick over VCU, but unfortunately, if you look at the data points, there's a reason why VCU won that game. So hearing and seeing those things kind of come together was a really interesting part, and I'm kind of like, why wasn't this around when I was in college? Kind of.
Yeah, seriously, I was gonna say if you feel like you're old, I don't even remember like when I was your age. I don't want to say it. And the reason for this class, what does it show the students?
It's an educational part because it obviously gives them that hands-on experience when it comes to making decisions with sports betting. Obviously in North Carolina with sports betting being legal, it's really easy to say, oh, I won a couple bucks here, but it can become an addiction, right? We already know that. So this is an opportunity for people to get their hands-on experience, not actually gamble any money, especially the students, see how it works, but also learn how it goes about the decision-making when it comes to sports betting. And also, again, learning about it. Like one student was like, I'm knowledgeable when it comes to sports and sports betting, but there's a reason, and some people don't know why, for example, Duke would be favored in their first round matchup, and why, if you could put money on them, why it doesn't work out in that favor, as opposed to picking an upset in that way, why the odds are better. So it tackled a lot of those kind of, I guess, situations, but it was a really cool experience to see, again, students from different types of backgrounds or knowledge when it comes to basketball and sports come together, make those decisions, and see who's got the better luck when it comes to March Madness now.
Do people like go? I'm picking on vibes because Carlene, producer, she just plays.
Like I
vibes.
like this color, or I like this mascot. I didn't get the grasp that anybody was doing it just based on vibes.
Because people do that.
Yeah, no, again,
right?
but it was crazy though, because there was one guy that was like, yeah, I was thinking I was being super biased, and a couple in our group thought we were being super biased. Obviously wanted to pick UNC to win that game, but again, we look at the numbers and we see why they didn't. And so it's going to be interesting to kind of compare, especially when the results come in over the next couple of days and as March Madness continues, just to kind of see who was right and who was wrong, and whether it's from a data standpoint, whether it's from a last couple games, for example, whether it's there's a lot of factors that can come into this. So it was a cool experience to see that, and obviously being able to tie that in with sports betting is an interesting attitude.
Yeah, a little money ball, I sense,
Exactly.
right? Shout out to my friend Rusty,
No,
who's a
yeah.
student there. Did you meet him?
I did not read. I did not meet Rusty today.
He's a data guy. He's
Okay.
looking at the statistics and behind
yeah.
sports. So my money ball in the making there.
Yeah,
at
I will
UNC
say there was a
Charlotte.
lot of people that picked Duke to win their next game, so we
Okay.
can say that. So
All right.
we'll see how those all shake out though with the other games. And again, it was just a cool experience to see.
Got to bust more brackets,
Exactly.
I'm sure. All right. Miles Harris, your story is when?
4:45 today.
Oh, okay. You're in my show.
Exactly.
See you at 4:45 here on WCNC Charlotte. Like it.
Thank you, Jane.
Yep. See ya. We'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It's 2:39 now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So we're going to go to our sister station out of Seattle because after 18 years, they're going to try to bring back the Sonics after giving it up in 2008, which eventually went to Oakland, that turned into the Thunder. And so now NBA owners are getting ready to vote to bring the Sonics back. Let's go ahead and listen in. We see smiles all around on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Potentially, hopefully, and it's sounding like it's going to happen, these Sonics games. Fans are probably very excited about all of this.
Yeah, Christine and my friends there, my phone has been blowing up throughout the day. My friends, my family are, diehard Sonics fans. We've been waiting for this for nearly 20 years, just like a lot of our viewers right now. But we're here right now at the Queen Anne Beer Hall. Yeah, things are a little bit quiet now, but they're steadily building. Today should be a pretty fun day here because they have a live radio broadcast going from KJR. They'll have discounts on burgers, smash burgers. If you wear your Sonics gear for $5, you can get a burger. But a lot of excitement building here right now as we speak, and things should be picking up as the afternoon goes on. But again, as far as the news with the Sonics and obviously that first step, right, the first step to eventually the final step to get the team here, a lot of excitement building here in Seattle and throughout the Northwest. But I'll send it back to you guys.
Okay, all right, Brady. Yeah, thanks so much. I know we're all sort of kind of thinking back to our own memories of the Sonics, including Brady and his family, you, Chris.
Well, I'm going to give the Sonics credit. I'm going to go back to 1980, and we live in a world, King 5 Plus, it's one of the top streaming stations around the globe right now. But it was all about streaming now, stream big. 1980, the Sonics unveiled the Sonics channel And I know this because Ed Egan purchased this at our home in Puyallup. It was $2.22 a game.
Probably
And back in 1980, I think $2.22 a game was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they were well ahead of the curve here. We're talking about the Mariners. They're going to be on some streaming area. You know, it's all about streaming now. This is 1980. The Sonics had their own channel back then.
Wow, a lot of time, decades have passed, but you know, we still remember so much of the Sonics era, including the mascot, right, Chris? One of our producers brought this out, the mascot for the Sonics. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah, and hopefully it's going to be the real mascot is going to be bigger.
I wonder whose this is. This is probably from someone.
It's a Funko Pop, right?
Now, for all you Sonics historians, the original mascot was Weedle. Weedle at the Needle.
Well, of course.
It was a bigger version of Squatch. And then Squatch became very, very popular. Would do some things where he'd dunk basketballs and was kind of a trendsetter. And the word is that Squatch will return when the Sonics come back. I don't know if that's breaking news, but I've been told.
Perhaps that's what Kevin Durant can do.
I've been told.
Yes. Well, I mean, when you look, this is a Funko small version, but you've probably seen Squatch back in the day in the full regalia. So very, very fun. Probably for the kids too.
Yeah, and the kids loved it, and it's about bringing the community together. I mean, some people, whether you like Bowie or not, Bowie has become part of the kids with the Seattle Kraken. But more importantly, I think we got to talk about what is happening today, that the NBA owners have voted unanimously, and now the bidding process is underway in Las Vegas, in Seattle. We've been saying on this show, One Roof Sports and Entertainment, led by Samantha Holloway, will put a bid forward. $7 to $10 billion, the price tag. I think the question out there too is you want to have the right bid. In the NBA, and this is interesting, is all about big superstars, and you know there's going to be somebody on this bid sheet, like it's going to be Samantha Holloway, and then there'll be some minority owners. You may have a Marshawn Lynch in the group. You may have a Gary Payton, a Sean Kemp, because the NBA likes that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we are awaiting a news conference. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver is set to speak live during this press conference where we can learn more about this morning's vote. We are standing by for that. Stay with us. We'll carry that for you live. You can watch everything that he has to say. So yes, a unanimous vote from earlier this morning. Great news, right? Just for basketball fans all over.
Not only is it great news, but I think it actually says a lot about these two teams, Seattle and Las Vegas, and the.
I want to bring you some breaking news right now as we're following a crash just reported northbound side of 77 near Tyvola. Left side of the roadway you can see is the northbound side, and that is definitely jammed. Left lane blocked. North 77 around mile marker 6. So right around Tyvola, and then southbound side certainly moving, at least once you're south of Tyvola.
I think there's a trooper coming up in the left lane.
Come on,
right
trooper.
There, center of the screen.
Clear that up. Hopefully it is a non-injury crash, fender bender, so we can get that out of the way shortly and before the commute, which we're going to cover on WCNC Charlotte starting at 4. But just an FYI, North 77 near Tyvola. Okay, let us get to Miss Julie Kay, because while we're talking about Charlotte, there is a program for high schoolers that are going to work with the Mayor Youth Program. I'm learning all about it right now. Julie Kay is joining us here live in the Live Impact studio. And Julie, a lot of kids have applied to this.
Yeah, this is a record year for the program, 1,200 kids, which of course they're very proud of for that many applications. I mean, last year they had 700. So this is a huge jump. And they've been doing this program for decades now, where kids between the ages of 16 and 18 will essentially, if they're accepted, get paired with a business in Charlotte and have typically a 6-week program where they work about 25 hours a week and make $13 an hour. So it's a great program for high schoolers. Yeah, they pay. And this year it's going to be a little bit different because they have so many that they're also offering 2-week and 4-week programs just to hopefully get some more kids involved in whatever flexible way they can, just to give everyone the experience that's best for them. But I mean, they've got some big businesses involved. I heard from American Airlines, Duke Energy, about not just the types of work that kids can do, but also how sometimes this leads to full employment opportunities afterwards.
Wow.
So yeah, really cool program. What they do need though is more businesses, and so that's kind of what we talked to them about today. Is they have way more kids than they could have anticipated, and so they need more businesses to apply. And it doesn't have to be like an American or a Duke. It can be a small business, you can be a nonprofit, because there's all sorts of different types of, interests that these kids have.
Yeah.
And every sector of the city is, interesting for a student that may not otherwise get that opportunity.
What was the attraction for all these applicants?
So they said that they very intentionally tried to reach out more. They wanted to put more effort into this program, more outreach into this program for all sorts of reasons. A, because Charlotte is growing so fast that they need a long-term workforce to be developed here. So that's why it's important that not only, those big businesses, but the smaller ones too. The interview I did, she specifically with the city talked about, we talk about mobility. Like, we need people that are trained in those jobs starting now if we continue to grow in that sector as much as we want to. I don't know that they were expecting this many, and so they're like, that means it was successful, the outreach that we did. But it benefits both the students and the city and the companies involved, they say, so that's why.
Okay, so looking for all kinds of companies, and then when do they have until they a deadline to apply to be involved in the program? Because it's this summer, right?
Yes, it'll be for this summer, so businesses can commit until April 10th, I believe.
Okay.
So students those applications are closed.
All right, good.
But businesses have little less than, I guess, a couple weeks now to get involved in there, and they're really hoping to get some more out there because their goal this year is to place 1,000 of the kids at least. A lot of times it's not because we don't have enough businesses, but it's this student can only work this many weeks, or they need to have 1 or 2 days off, and some businesses won't allow it. So that's why this year there's a little bit more flexibility involved. But just across the board, they need more businesses because they really want to match that goal of 1,000 kids, which would, they say, be really huge for youth development in general. Also, they're saying we've talked about a lot about youth crime, things like this when students are out of school. This is the time to really make sure they have something else to do that's beneficial and positive. To kind of mitigate, hopefully, some of that as well.
All right, sounds good. Julie Kay's story is going to be in our 5 o'clock?
Our 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Yes.
4 o'clock. We've got a full show here at 4 o'clock. I'm glad to hear it. All right, Julie Kay, and looking for applicants to apply as a business.
Yes.
For the mayor, what is the program called?
The Mayor's Youth Employment Program.
Mayor's Youth Employment Program. All right, very cool. All right, thanks, Julie. See you at the 4. And I've got about 10 minutes here before Colin Mayfield comes into the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus. Let's go ahead and take a break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 2:52 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we are going to go out to Seattle right now, or at least the NBA commissioner. I don't know if there's Seattle, but Adam Silver, NBA commissioner, talking about owners voting to return the Sonics to Seattle after they gave the team up almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, which ended up being the Thunder, and now Sonics back up for grabs, maybe going back to Seattle. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Many players directly, and read the reports coming out of collective bargaining, and I'm really pleased that both sides feel that it's a fair outcome. I think that's very important when you go through a process like that. So, Tim, with that, happy to answer any questions.
We'll start in the third row on the right. Tim?
Hi, Adam.
Hey, Tim.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. Good to see you as always. On expansion. Can you share if there was any concerns? I mean, you've talked about this, and it is a complicated thing, selling equity in the league. We all understand that. If there was any concern that any owners expressed, and to that end, I know it just happened. What's a logical timeline? You probably won't commit to one. I get that, but what are the logical next steps, and what's the hope as far as how long this part of the process might take?
Sure, Tim. There weren't concerns. I will say, in a way, we're in a good situation because there are some owners who felt that we just frankly don't need to expand. So they didn't necessarily see concern with going forward, but we felt we're in a very solid place with the 30-team league we have now. I think they're Seattle and Las Vegas, in terms of their history and support of NBA basketball, are unique in terms of available markets in the U.S. right now. No knock on any other markets. Those are just the markets we're focused on. So I think there was a discussion about, of course, dilution economically and dilution talent-wise. And I think there was a presentation by Paul Taubman and others at the league office about what the implications are by, if you're always a reminder when you expand, you're selling equity in the existing league. So, for example, if partners share in 1/30 of national television revenue or 1/30 of international opportunities. Now, if you expand by one team, it's 1/31 or 1/32 with two teams. So there's that straight economic analysis. There's also potential dilution of talent. I mean, if your goal as an NBA owner ultimately is to win a championship, no matter how well managed your team is, if there are two more teams out there, number one, you're presumably going to lose some talent to those teams, but also it's harder to compete to win a championship if there's 32 teams than if there's 30. So again, I wouldn't put that in the category of concern. It more went in the category of considerations. But it's also why, just to make that distinction, we didn't announce today we are expanding. We announced that we're exploring expanding. And part of expanding means, I mean, one, of course, there's the economic implications of what's the value of that franchise. Those four franchises will ultimately be determined by the market, and then the league has to make an assessment whether it's then worth it to go forward at those valuations. But I think they care a lot about who their potential partner or partners might be, and then particular situations in each market, like what arena would we play in, or, you know, what are plans? Are people looking at other arenas? All those things are part of the consideration set. So the discussion today and in the meetings leading up today went more to, all right, what are all the factors that we'll look at? And then ultimately the view is you could explore expansion more softly by just having conversations, but certainly it was my view and others that we owe it to these markets to be transparent and to be more formal with our approach to that, so that everybody feels they have a fair shot. There's an investment banker, there's people at the league office working on this, and so if you are interested, and I'll say that now to people who may be listening or watching this, if you're interested, call the league office, call PJT Partners directly in New York. And just want to make sure everybody understands there's been no handshakes on the side. There's been no commitments. There's been no promises to anyone. This is a completely transparent process. Nothing is set in stone right now. You asked me another part of the question. Timeline. As I said before, our goal was in 2026 to resolve this issue one way or the other. So my timeline, we weren't so specific with the board, is that we need to know by the end of this calendar year what it is we're doing. It may not be that.
Okay, third row, two in from the left, Simone.
Simone Sandri, Gazzetta dello Sport, on the NBA Europe front. This week from the EuroLeague leadership, it transpired not just a willingness to come to the table, but really like an opening to get a deal done with the NBA. And I wonder if you feel the same, and if the timeline stays the same with the potential start on October 27.
Yeah, I do have that similar sense from the EuroLeague. Of course, we know leadership in the EuroLeague very well. Chus Bueno used to be a colleague of mine at the NBA for many years. I mean, for those who don't know, he's a sort of recently installed new head of the EuroLeague. I think for the betterment of European basketball, the best outcome would be if we came together with the EuroLeague here and that we came up with a systematic approach to growing the game throughout Europe. And that means complementing the country leagues, working together with the EuroLeague, and working together with our federation, FIBA.
All right, we'll go third row, 2 in. Maddie?
Hi, Adam. Madeline Kenny with the New York Post. Do you anticipate Kathy Engelbert to remain the WNBA commissioner beyond the 2026 season?
You know, we haven't had those discussions yet. With the WNBA board, I would only say Kathy's done a fantastic job, since she's come to WNBA. I mean, obviously, you could see just in the results, but I haven't had those discussions recently with Kathy, and even in terms of her future plans and how long she wants to do this. She had a storied career before she came to the WNBA as the CEO, of Deloitte. But I'd only say the results speak for themselves, and I'm very happy, and I know ownership is very happy with where things stand in the WNBA.
Second row, 2 in from the right. Chris?
Commissioner, Chris Daniels from Coma TV in Seattle. Good to see you again under these circumstances. We all know what happened 18 years ago, and the past is prologue to this. Since the team moved, both Amazon and Microsoft are now two of the most wealthiest companies in the country. Amazon is now a partner for you. We know about all the NBA players that have moved from Seattle. Tens of thousands of people have moved to Seattle since the franchise left. So the question is, what does the city of Seattle have to do to prove itself in this process? And do you expect multiple bidders, whether it's in Seattle or Las Vegas?
I do expect that there will be multiple bidders, and I don't think it's about anything specific that the city of Seattle needs to do. As you say, we have strong business partners there. I travel there frequently. The Storm have had great success in Seattle. It's just a wonderful market, and on top of that, enormous economic growth around technology. I think it has more to do with who comes forward as the potential owner, understanding the arena situation, understanding the economics, because putting aside what somebody is willing to pay for the franchise, we want to make sure they're in a position to be successful. And whether that means sharing a building, with the hockey team or whatever arrangement is put forward, that's what I meant before when our team owners are, on one hand, they compete like crazy on the court, but then they're all partners. And I think part of the issues we'll be looking at is, will we be putting a team in position to be successful in Seattle? I mean, I see no reason standing here today why that shouldn't be the case, but we're going to work through this process.
Second row on the end on the right, Joe?
Joe Freeman with the Oregonian. Might as well keep things in the Northwest here and look at the Blazers ownership situation. I know it hasn't been approved yet, but what do you think about Tom Dunnan as a prospective owner and just the long-term health of the Blazers and stability in Portland?
I'm just getting to know Tom. I've known him by reputation for a long time, not just through his ownership of the Carolina Hurricanes, but also through his other sports investments he's made. I mean, he's a go-getter. He's got a great reputation as a sort of having led a turnaround in the NHL. He certainly has enormous passion and spirit. He wants to be successful. He wants to be successful both as a businessman in Portland. He wants to be successful with the team on the floor. I also had an opportunity yesterday to meet the rest of his group, the rest of his ownership group. Similarly, you have some very successful people who are coming here. So I see no reason why he won't be successful in Portland. I think that he recognizes it's a unique opportunity. We very many different types of markets in the NBA, but when you have markets that are single sport markets, I should say we also have a WNBA team coming to Portland as well right now, and I think that makes what needs to happen in the building even that much more important, because you can have two major league basketball teams there. So, of course, we need a state-of-the-art arena to play in. I think there seems to be agreement. As you know, I was in Market recently that the Moda Center needs an upgrade. There's been a vote already to ensure that's going to happen. I think there's some other pieces that need to come together in the Market to ensure that there's long-term support. But I'm a big, fan of the Market. It was nice to be there. Joe Masco, my colleague, and I were there recently, and the support has been enthusiastic. Senator Wyden has gotten very involved as well. So, we expect that there'll be a vote shortly from our board. Tom and his group were just interviewed yesterday, so that's now the additional process. But that should happen in short order. And I think Tom is anxious and ready to go, and wants to build a championship franchise there.
Fourth row on the right on the end, Mick.
Hey, Adam. Mick Akers, Las Vegas Review-Journal. You mentioned some of these ownership groups, right? Magic Johnson's group reached out to me and expressed their interest in being part of that. What does having someone like Magic Johnson involved with the group add to a group's bid for an NBA team?
Yeah, Magic Johnson, of course, one of our greatest players ever, and also has had incredible success off the floor as well. So, I have a strong personal relationship with him, and he's beloved, around the league. So I know interest from Magic will be welcome by the league office. As I said, in some cases, you have people who'll be leading groups, and there's others who've indicated that they want to be parts of ownership groups. So that's what we'll now see as the process unfolds.
Third row on the end on the left, Howard.
Howard Beck from The Ringer. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Howard.
Sorry. You alluded to talent dilution earlier. I'm curious to what extent the league has already studied the potential impacts of talent dilution with regard to expansion, and what those conclusions might have been, if you can share. But then more broadly, I think we all understand the financial reasons to expand. There's great incentive there. What is the basketball case for expanding, especially at a time when you are still grappling with tanking and a lot of bad teams? And expanding means, almost by definition, if we can judge by the past, adding two more bad teams. So what's the basketball case, and what does the dilution study tell you so far?
Yeah, so Howard, it's interesting when you talk about tanking. What's confusing by definition about tanking is it's unclear how bad a team really is, especially when outcomes are being controlled in a way based on incentives to finish further down the standings. And just back to the tanking discussion for a moment, one of the difficulties as we're trying to revise a new system is the team that finishes 30th that much worse than the team that finishes 28th, or that we have ample talent to field 32 competitive teams. I mean, just by one point of comparison, when we last had a two-team expansion roughly 30 years ago to Canada, 6% of the players in the NBA were international. That's now 30%. So, and as along the lines we were talking earlier about basketball in Europe, and the amount of talent coming out of there, I mean, it's, out of the 30% of our players international, roughly half of them are from Europe, so that's 15% of our players are European, and obviously some of our very best players, and increasingly we have MVPs coming from outside the United States. So tanking is a confusing one, and it's something we study because it kind of perverts the outcome, so it's the very essence of tanking is it's unclear what quality teams really have. So I'm not worried about the ability to have 30 competitive teams. Does it make it that much more difficult for a team to win a championship? Yes. On the other hand, as opposed to the old days in the league and going way back, one of the things we talked about is that in the first 65 years of this league, 3 teams won 60% of the championships. Now, over the last 14 years, you've had, I think, 11 different teams have won championships, and you've had 7 different teams over the last 7 years. So there's much more parity that used to exist in the league, and I think ultimately what people want, and that's why tanking is so corrosive, people want to see competition. I'm a big fan of college basketball. Like, I watch a lot of college games where there may be only 1 or 2 players on the floor that could legitimately play at the NBA level. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the game, or even to me the quality quality of the competition on the floor. And ultimately what we're selling is great competition. So, it's something we're paying attention to. I think back to that question before, were there any concerns? There was not a strong concern in the room that there wasn't sufficient talent. I mean, I don't want to say the conversation is unrelated to tanking. I do think there was a sense in the room that the expansion process is multi-year. I mean, we hope to make a decision by the end of this year, but at the earliest, you'd have new teams coming in the league at the 28-29 season. But as I said, there was uniformity in the view that we must fix the tanking issue now. And so, I would just say, given the amount of growth in this game globally, you're very familiar with it. You've been covering this game for a long time. Look at whether it's the FIBA World Cup or the Olympic competition, from the old days, the quality of the teams that were competing against the United States till now. Basketball is played everywhere. There's talent everywhere. I think in partly because of digital media, you can discover talent in ways you couldn't historically. There's hardly ever a diamond in the rough anymore. People are aware of where this talent is, regardless of where they are on the planet. So I think, especially given that we're looking at adding these teams in 28, 29, if we do move forward, I don't think there's going to be any issue about the quality of the competition.
Second row, 2 in on the left, Tim.
Hi, Adam. Tim Booth from the Seattle Times.
Hey, Tim.
Great, folks, and we'll monitor this in the background. By the way, Vanessa Rufus taking over for Jane Monreal here in the Live Impact News studio. Of course, we were just hearing there from NBA Commissioner Adam Silver discussing the expansion of the NBA back to Seattle for the first time since 2008, where the Sonics were there, and to Las Vegas. So more to come here on WCNC Plus throughout the evening. We'll take a quick break. In 2 minutes, we'll return. Right now, we're watching a feed on the West Coast. We are seeing right now one of the attorneys for the plaintiffs in that Meta social media trial, where we just have that verdict now that Meta and YouTube are negligent in the designs of their platforms, and that did cause harm to various folks, including the main plaintiff that we heard from during this trial, who said that this hurt her mental health being on these social media platforms. We'll see you in 2 with more. All right, folks, welcome back to Live Impact News. We've got a live feed, as we mentioned, coming to us from Los Angeles, as a lawyer for the plaintiff in this Meta and YouTube trial is speaking. As we just mentioned, a jury has found those social media platforms negligent in their designs. And this is a pretty big verdict, talking about social media addiction. Let's go ahead and listen in right now.
In economic terms, these companies understand, because these companies
Google's net worth was set in front of the jury by agreement at $415 billion with a B. That's $415,000 million. How on earth do you ever find that entity for what behavior we're talking about here? And so I just took a jar of M&Ms that had 415 M&Ms in it. I showed it to the jury. And I said, you grab a handful out. You don't even notice they're gone. But that's 20 M&Ms. That's $20 billion to these companies.
What will $3 million mean?
$3 million, you know, these are interesting. And the public doesn't always know what this money does. First of all, to try this case, look at this sea of people behind me. This sea is just one drop of who we had. We had 40 people down here in 40 hotel rooms for 2.5 months. And all of those types of expenses, along with all of the expert fees, along with everything else, has to come out of the money. And so it's so expensive to pursue a case like this. It takes an army of these incredible lawyers to team up together. These are from different firms. We've got every firm there. We've got the famous Wagstaff and Cartmel firm from Kansas City here. We've got Beasley Allen from Alabama. We've got Morgan & Morgan from every city that's got a billboard. We've got countless law firms here, including my own, because it takes that much money and that much effort. So by the time you put all of that into the formula and you credit some settlements that may have already been come, I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes to Kaylee. That'll have to be an accounting question. But I will tell you, as a result of this, Kaylee's life will be different, and rightfully so. Oh, yeah, they'll appeal this all day long. Yes.
How does it feel?
How does it feel to get this money?
Take a weight off.
Yeah, these folks behind me, including my sweet daughters to my left and right, these folks behind me have carried a burden of this case for a long, long time. The Social Media Law Center has carried a burden behind this for a long, long time. And I've shouldered some weight of that during the trial with the help of my friends. But it's like this entire, you know, you've seen the photographs of Atlas, you know, with the world on his shoulders. It's like that weight's been set aside, and it's a cause for rejoicing. I'm a man of faith, and so I love the proverb that's found in the Bible that says, the horse is trained for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. I feel like what we're about here is something beyond just trying to make a buck, beyond just trying to help Kaylee. I feel like we're about something that is incredibly socially important and responsible. And I feel like we've made a great step forward. And I am thankful to God as I understand Him. I hope you are to God as you understand Him, her, or whatever your faith may be. But this is a righteous event and a righteous moment that makes me proud to be an American and proud to be a lawyer.
Mark, how will this change things? Is this a landmark moment, you feel?
This is a landmark moment. It will reverberate. I'll tell you this. If the jury had returned to no, the champagne corks would be popping in the boardrooms of Google and Meta. But instead, Mark Zuckerberg has to take a phone call. And the only thing he's waiting for now is to find out if there are going to be punishment damages. Now,
what's going to be the impact on Europe?
Europe has some unique aspects to it. I know that Europe is tuned in. We've been in a great dialogue with a number of different media sources over in Europe that are dying to know what's going on. And I think that the European government, I think The Hague will be very responsive. I know the individual country governments are responsive, and I think that you're going to see even more legal changes that will alter the landscape of social media attraction and opportunity for those young child developing brains. Yes, Kaylee? Kaylee. Kelly?
All right, and folks, we're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News. Of course, as you were hearing there, the plaintiff's attorney in this social media case, remarking on the impacts that this could have on a wider scale on the social media landscape. As we mentioned, a jury has found Meta and YouTube negligent in their design and operation of their platform, and this stems from actually the first of a consolidated group of cases with a plaintiff who said that this led to social media addiction being on their platforms and harmed her mental health. Up next, the jury is set to make a determination on punitive damages. 2 minutes, we'll take our quick break. We'll be back with more. We are monitoring various feeds right now, so kind of whichever one we've got still jamming, or if we start to see some big activity, we'll move to that one. So stick with us here on Live Impact News. Folks, welcome back here to Live Impact News. We're going to turn to a feed coming to us right from our own backyard, Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got Charlotte 49ers introducing the new head coach of the men's basketball program. Wes Miller comes to us from background of working with Cincinnati and UNC Greensboro, and no stranger to the Carolinas overall. Let's listen in.
College basketball with all the wacky portal and moving around, all show up for the new head coach's press conference. That's pretty cool. So thank you guys for being here. Seriously. I want to start out by thanking Chancellor Gaber and Kevin White for believing in me and giving me an opportunity to do what I just absolutely love to do, and that's coach this game and be around young people. So thank you. I am energized, and I am like absolutely pumped up, fired up, more than I've ever been to be the head coach at Charlotte. Like, I could not be more excited, and I don't know how to express that well enough today, but it's not an energy that's going to dissipate here in a day or a week or a month. Like, it's a real, genuine energy that I think I can carry day after day and year after year. So I am thrilled to be here. The first thing as I started to go through the process that just jumped off the page to me was interviewing virtually a handful of days ago with Kevin and with Chancellor Gaber. And I kept hearing over the last handful of years, and certainly in text messages this week, I keep hearing this term about UNC Charlotte as a university, and sleeping giant. I keep hearing sleeping giant. And I did the Zoom with Chancellor Gaber, and I got off the Zoom. Her energy blew me away. For the leader of the university to have that level of energy, it just absolutely came through the screen, first and foremost. And her vision blew me away. And then I could tell from the many conversations that I had with Kevin, the alignment of that energy and vision. So I hung up the phone and I went, there's no sleeping giant. There's a giant that's waking up. And there you go. And as Kevin said, is on the rise and on an ascension. And what I was so excited about with the opportunity here is that Chancellor Gaber and Kevin see men's basketball as one of the many facets of the university that can be a part of that ascension and a part of that rise. And I wanted to be somewhere where it was aligned from the leadership all the way down with the role and the importance of athletics and of men's basketball to a university. I felt that in the strongest way in my interaction with Chancellor Gaber and Kevin. The second thing that really jumped out to me here is it's been done here. Like, we're going to build a nationally competitive program that's sustainable, not just a one good year. We're going to be sustainable and competitive with all of college basketball. And as Kevin said, we're going to do it the right way. We're not going to skip steps. But heck, guys, I want to do it next year, right? Like, there's not going to be patience. But as I think about Charlotte basketball, what's really special to me is that we've been that before. And I grew up in Charlotte. Charlotte is home to me. And I get nostalgic thinking about this program because when I was a kid and I'd come over to Prep Stars basketball camp and my mother would drive me over here, Coach Lutz had this thing humming. This program was in the NCAA tournament year after year. It was nationally competitive. And so there's a great tradition. I was born in 1983, so 77's a little before my time with the Final Four. But whether it's Cornbread Maxwell, Final Fours, Jeff Bullins, Melvin Watkins, Bobby Lutz, and countless players. Joby Thomas was like my favorite. He probably doesn't even know me, but when I was a kid in Charlotte, Joby Thomas was like a hero to me. There's countless players. There's history and there's tradition here. And there are not many places in college basketball. It's always been important to me to be able to coach places like that. I know we have that here, and I look forward to bringing that back and taking that further. The third thing that just jumps off the page is I'm home. And I will not get emotional. I'll do that after some special things happens with the players, but I'll not get emotional. But I feel emotional because North Carolina's home. I'm 43. 33 of my 43 years have been spent in this state, whether it was Charlotte, Chapel Hill, or Greensboro. And I told you guys I love hoops. This is the hoop state. Anybody that's from here, that's involved in basketball, we have the best basketball in this state. We have the best grassroots basketball in this state. We have the best college basketball in this state. And when you leave this state, you wear that like a badge of honor. So I have pride, whether I was here or somewhere else, in being from the hoop state, spending a lot of my life in the hoop state, and I'm so excited to be back in the hoop state. And then the second aspect of not just North Carolina is to be in Charlotte. Like, our community here, and I should go back. At 10 years old, my mother, my younger brother and sister, we moved here from Greensboro, and Charlotte is always, no matter where I was, been the place that I was home. Guys, when my mom's been here for 33 years, wherever your mother lives is the place that you call home. So I have great nostalgia and deep feelings for Greensboro and Chapel Hill, but no matter where I was, home was where my mom was. So home was, she's going to make me cry. Home was always Charlotte. So Charlotte is special to me. Basketball in Charlotte is special to me. In this program, there's been some of the best players in this city that have stayed here. I talked about Joby. Kurt Withers was my age. He stayed and played here. And I could go on and on. I don't want to leave people out. But Charlotte is special for basketball. It's also an incredible community that's been on the rise for 30 years or 40 years since I can remember. And I'm so excited to be somewhere that I feel this way about, and the university is going to get on that same rise that this city is. Couple things, because I can get long-winded, so I'll try to keep it short as I can. But our program, first things first, we're going to play hard, we're going to play smart, and we're going to play together. It's going to be built on players and serving young people, first and foremost, okay? Values, and this is where I get excited. We're going to care a lot. We're going to care about relationships. We're going to care about what we represent with the university. We're going to care about the community. We're going to care. We're going to be caring people in a caring program. Second thing, we're going to work. And I take a lot of pride in our work ethic. It'll be second to none, but it's also going to be smart and efficient. The third thing, we're going to fight. And I don't mean fighting like in the wrong way. I mean, we're going to have an edge, a competitiveness, a physical toughness, a mental toughness. We're going to fight. And then the fourth thing in our program that you can bank it is we're going to be resilient. Today's the day you think about being in this arena with it sold out, cutting nets down, and doing all these great things that I envision for this program. But that path is going to have ups and downs and peaks and valleys. When we have the bad days, we're going to respond quickly. When we have the great days, we're going to respond quickly by not being satisfied. We're going to be a resilient and responsive group. And then the final value that I have for everything that we do is we're going to find people that want to live that, not just talk about it, not just put it on some wall or some sheet of paper. We're going to live the things that we believe in from top to bottom in our program. Style of play. We're going to play a style of play that people want to support and people want to get behind. First things first, we're not going to allow the other team to play the way that they practice every day. We're going to have a defensive mentality on that end of the floor. We're going to rebound the ball at the highest level. And that'll be a non-negotiable for any player that wants to play for UNC Charlotte. We're going to play in the open court, but we're also going to value the ball. We're going to play team-oriented offensive basketball, and we're going to let guys play with freedom and confidence within who they are. I can't wait to start sharing that vision with the current players here and the guys that we'll target in recruiting. I think over the next 1 to 2 weeks, it's imperative that we go out and put together, and I assure you the work is already starting, a staff that aligns with the values that we're trying to get behind and the vision we have for this program. We will do that. It'll be a staff that's diverse in skill set, diverse in their strengths, that has experience, wisdom, youthful energy. We are going to build a high level staff that works together well as a team the same way that we want to build a roster. The second thing is we got to go put a team together. And I'm excited that we get the opportunity to do that. I assure you guys we will do that, and we'll put one together that can be incredibly competitive next year. I'm going to finish, because again, I could do this all day talking about basketball. We just recognizing some people. Again, thank you to the current players that are here. I want to point out my family, my mother Susan, my father Ken, their significant others, and my beautiful significant other, Lauren. Lauren, you can wave at everybody. There you go. I'm going to brag on Lauren a little bit because She's from Charlotte as well. She went to Providence Day School, and I drug her up to the state of Ohio for the last couple years. And when I landed in Charlotte a couple days ago, I can't tell you the amount of peace and joy that I had to be home and to be where I really believe I belong. The only person that feels even more so that way than me is Lauren. She's seen enough snow for a lifetime, and I'm really glad I get to bring her home. She's been incredible for me as a coach and really helped me find myself again with the personal side of my life. So my best recruit, I'm glad that we get to come home. All right. Obviously, I want to thank all the university leadership that's here today. I heard Chancellor Gaber talk about some members of the board, former athletic director. That means a lot. I want to thank any of the people in the athletic department that are here, any of the people in any of the broader campus community that are here. I look forward to getting to know you all. I am outgoing. I'm the guy that you can walk up and talk to, but it might be more than 2 minutes, okay, because I can talk with the best of them. But I want to let everybody know in this campus community that I'm not just excited to build a program, I'm excited to work with you all and partner with you all. The former players, the former coaches, I had a great conversation with Bobby Lutz last night. I thought this said a lot about him. He said, I'm not coming tomorrow because I want it to be about you. And today will be the last day it's about me because it's going to be about the players after this. But, wow, I want to make sure that the people that came before me in this program know that they'll be recognized, they'll be celebrated, they'll be welcome here, and they'll be appreciated. Our students, do we have any students here? There we go. All right, I was told this walking in. I was told I could say 40. All right, that's okay. That's just okay. I want like a high standard here, like we're coaching. 40. All right, there we go. All right. Now we're talking, Kevin. All right. Players, you guys see that? That's how we got to talk on defense. We're going to engage this student body, and I can't believe how well it's represented here today for a dang press conference. How cool is that? That's awesome that you guys are here. We're going to get this place rocking. We're going to make this a great experience for you guys, and 15,000 students on campus is what I've been told. We need to have lines to get in this place. So I look forward to getting out and interacting with our students, our fans, our boosters, our supporters. Go buy season tickets now. Go get them now while you can get them. We need you. We need to make this a home court advantage. We need your support to compete in the new era of college basketball. The university is stepping up. They want this to be nationally competitive. That won't be enough. We need the fans and the boosters to get behind this too. I can't wait to get out and meet all you guys. And then I want to leave on this. For a couple days over the last week, I wasn't a basketball coach. And I will never forget Chancellor Gaber and Kevin White for giving me an opportunity to do what I love to do again at a place that I really believe in and a place that I feel is home. I will reward that every single day and think about that every single day I wake up to do this job. So let's get this thing started. Go Niners, and thank you guys.
All right, folks, once again, you were listening into Wes Miller, the new head coach of the Charlotte 49ers men's basketball program, showing a lot of excitement looking ahead to the future. Of course, we'll have much more coverage for you coming up in sports as you keep it here during our regular newscast here on WCNC+. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more Live Impact News in just 2 minutes. Everyone, thanks for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. We want to take a look at our weather impacts going on through the rest of the week and into the weekend. So with that, here's our meteorologist honing in on the forecast for the day and the coming days. Let's listen in.
Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and it's another beautiful day outside. The big weather story today is that it's just a very seasonal day. This is exactly how it's supposed to be for a late March day. Temperatures will be back into the mid to upper 60s today, so it's going to feel comfortable for the most part, but let me tell you, we have another warm up on the way. You'll start to feel those warmer temperatures tomorrow, and then by Friday, we're talking about the return of record heat. If you're making plans this weekend, plan for plenty of sunshine, cooler temperatures back into the 60s, but we are still nice and dry. Here's the rest of the day today. So as you're picking up kiddos after school, calling for partly sunny skies, will stay dry, maybe the time that you're driving home from work later on in the day. Low 60s by about 8 o'clock this evening. So overall a comfortable day, but it is still important to note that high fire danger still really needs to be top of mind. Every single one of our counties, you're either under very high levels or extremely high conditions. And simply this means that the ingredients are in place for new fires to start easily. And if they do, they could be very, very hard to contain. Let's take you up into the mountains. Upper 50-degree temperatures for most of you. 58 degrees from Boone to Banner Elk. 56 there in Blowing Rock. As we head towards the foothills, mainly mid to upper 60s, nearing 70 if you're in Morganton, but I don't think you'll reach 70 this afternoon. 67 in Gastonia and mid-60s there in Salisbury. Then as we're heading down to the south, getting warmer as we're looking towards Chesterfield, you'll be nearing 70 degrees. 69 for your high temperature. Overnight lows tonight will drop down into the upper 40s to low 50-degree temperatures. So these will be the temperatures that you'll be waking up to tomorrow morning. So maybe you still want a sweatshirt, but you won't need it all throughout the day because tomorrow we are warming up fast. I want to talk about the bus stop forecast tomorrow because it will be one of those days where you send the kids off to school with a layer into the 50s, but by the time they're coming home, don't be surprised when that layer is off because temperatures will be climbing back into the upper 70s, low 80s tomorrow. There's our satellite and radar. We just have a really nice mix of sun and clouds, but we have no rain chances. Not just today, but that takes us through the next several days. And we've been talking about how problematic it is, how bad our drought is. But you know what? If we got a good soaking of rain, it would also probably help with the pollen. Right now, we're at the peak when it comes to our tree pollen levels. Look at this, though. As we head towards June and July, that's when our grass pollens will start to really climb, and then towards the later half of summer and into early fall, that's when we see those weed allergens. So right now it's all about the trees. I don't have to tell you this twice. Everything is so yellow out there, and that's because of the pine. So if you're thinking, should I go wash my car? Unfortunately, I would say probably not. It wouldn't do a whole lot because by tomorrow you'll still be covered in pollen all over again. We're actually accumulating it, and I think the worst of it really will be towards the end of March and then taking us still into at least the middle half of April. And then in addition to the pollen, we're still looking at really warm temperatures. Climate Prediction Center also indicating that through the end of the month and into early April, we're looking at above average temperatures. Record warmth, don't forget about that. That's going to be on Friday, 88 degrees for our high temperature. There's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Again, today is very seasonal, very comfortable. 67 degrees, 50 degrees overnight tonight. Back into the 80s Thursday and Friday, and this weekend still pretty nice. But look at Sunday morning, 37 degrees is what we'll wake up to before those temperatures start climbing again. Hope you have a great day.
And with that, folks, we are turning to a live look we've been monitoring throughout the hour from LaGuardia. This is showing the runway where the Sunday night crash, you could see that scene remains, and cleanup is underway. You'll remember that LaGuardia is partially open, but obviously with the investigation with this collision between the passenger jet and that fire truck, there's been a lot of deep dives that the NTSB and other officials have been doing into exactly how this played out. You remember NTSB officials have been telling us that they believe that there's a multiple pronged reason, if you will, for the crash, saying there are probably many different ways failures led to this. But one of them, which was interesting, and we're kind of seeing now a push to fix this on the back end, there are transponders that could have been on this fire truck to alert the fire truck that there was danger in the area, and it did not have that. But there does exist surveillance system that is meant to eliminate dangerous runway incursions and crashes, and that truck did not have it. So we'll keep monitoring as we get new updates in this crash. We'll bring them to you here on Live Impact News. James, you got something for us?
I do, and this is a hard transition because we're going from one airport to the next, so I just want to wipe out to us for a second to kind of scene set, but we were just monitoring our Charlotte Douglas International camera, and we can see flashing lights out there on the runway or the taxiway. I've just come talking to our assignment desk now, working to find out. Could be nothing. They could just be lighting up for visibility, as maybe they're just driving around the airport there. But we did see 3 or 4 fire trucks out here at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. So we'll check on this as we head to break and hopefully have an update for you in 2 minutes, Vanessa.
All right, appreciate that. James, our producer here in the Live Impact News studio, keeping us updated from Charlotte Douglas. Folks, as James mentioned, a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more on the other side. All right, folks, welcome back to Live Impact News. We continue to watch this scene over at Charlotte Douglas International. You're looking at some emergency vehicles that seem to be moving across the tarmac. Still a question mark. We're looking into this. We've got a few avenues that we can go to try to get information, but in the meantime, we're still working those. So bear with us. We'll try to get more details for you during this feed, if not potentially during our newscasts, if the situation warrants, as you keep it here on WCNC+. The other feed that we've been keeping an eye on right now comes to us out of Washington, D.C. We've been seeing the Senate Judiciary Citizenship hearing underway. This is a hearing that's been called Protecting American Citizenship 2, Part 2. So this is the second portion of apparently a hearing that's already happened. Federalism, sanctuary cities, and the rule of law. Of note, we have a sheriff from North Carolina, specifically North Carolina Sheriff Clarence Burkhead, talking about public safety. Let's go ahead and listen in right now.
Chairman Smith, Ranking Member Welch, and other distinguished members of the Subcommittee on Constitution. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. My name is Clarence Burkhead, Sheriff of Durham County, North Carolina, and I believe that true public safety is built on a foundation of trust between local law enforcement and the communities they serve. Throughout my career in public service, I have learned that for me to be successful as a law enforcement officer, I needed to secure the trust and support of the community. Recognizing the value of community trust and strong relationships, I have never wavered from this focus to remain public focused and community oriented in my policing philosophy. This is one reason I joined recently and became the co-chair of Law Enforcement Immigration Task Force, a nationwide group of law enforcement leaders committed to immigration reforms that enhance public safety and community trust. In my experience as police chief and sheriff, I have found that leaders at local level know their communities well and are focused on ensuring public safety. Local law enforcement leaders are solely responsible for prioritizing enforcement against threats in the public manner that builds trust and maintains community. Given this, I believe that federalism principles are best upheld when local jurisdictions are not impeded in determining how their limited resources can effectively protect their residents. Effective policing is impossible without cooperation with the public. In my opinion, when local law enforcement is perceived as an extension of federal immigration authorities, the trust we all work to secure and maintain is eroded. As a result, immigrant communities, both documented and undocumented, are more likely to fear engagement with local law enforcement and retreat into the shadows. When individuals fear cooperation could lead to deportation, they are less likely to report crimes or participate in investigations. Victims of domestic violence hesitate to come forward. Witnesses of violent crimes refuse to come forward and participate in investigations. Law enforcement's ability to solve crimes is diminished, making all of our communities less safe. Our nation is facing long-standing and complex immigration issues that Congress and federal agencies have been trying to solve for decades. Some policymakers have sought to mandate that state and local law enforcement take on new immigration enforcement responsibilities. However, the Supreme Court has repeatedly held that the federal government cannot commandeer state and local officials to carry out federal regulatory programs. Federalism requires the respect of local law enforcement functions. The term sanctuary city is the subject of this hearing has not been defined in federal legislation. The absence of clarity over this term's meaning often obscures more than illuminates. Durham County is not a sanctuary county. We follow state and local law, including presenting detainers to state judicial officials for review and following any related court orders issued. If ordered by magistrates or judges to hold an individual for 48 hours, we do so. And we also notify ICE and give them the opportunity to seize that individual. As required by state law, we notify ICE once again when the 48-hour clock starts. As a law enforcement leader who must answer to voters, I prioritize local law enforcement and public safety above all else. I determine whether or not to participate in the voluntary 287G program or which federal law enforcement task force my deputies are assigned to, with the goal being to advance community trust and public safety. This also means that I work to ensure that the Durham County Sheriff's Office upholds core state and federal constitutional principles, including ensuring individuals' rights, due process, and civil liberties are protected. Border Czar Tom Homan laid out immigration enforcement priorities, identifying and deporting known, undocumented violent offenders. I agree with that approach. I don't agree with targeting people without criminal records who pose no threat to public safety. Protecting American citizenship and the rule of law does not require us to turn our local police officers or deputy sheriffs into immigration agents. It requires us to respect the expertise and autonomy of sheriffs in our cities and jurisdictions and let us serve as the professionals that we are. We all want to identify and apprehend violent offenders, especially those committing violent crimes. regardless of their immigration status. In that spirit of respect, I urge this subcommittee to support policies that empower local law enforcement to build bridges, not barriers. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Vaughn.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Again this week, we have witnessed a tragic consequence of sanctuary policies, this time in Chicago, with the senseless killing of Sheridan Gorman by an illegal alien who apparently made a beeline for Chicago, where he had protection from immigration enforcement, even after being arrested within months of arriving.
All right, folks, breaking in quickly here for a quick traffic update as folks might be getting ready to head out the door, whether it's out to work or maybe you're heading out to the grocery store. But we've got a crash reported over on 85 near Sam Wilson Road. This is heading in the southbound direction, so as you're heading from the Charlotte area out towards Belmont and Gastonia. Not a lot of backups, fortunately, but there is a blockage, as you can see, on that left lane. It looks like you've got a couple of responders there with their amber lights, so make sure that you're planning a few extra minutes as you head that way. Don't forget that move over law as well. As we mentioned, backups are not substantial. Probably good time of day, if you will, considering at 5 o'clock, this could be a lot dicier, we know, heading in that direction. But we'll keep you posted as we learn more if we hear about injuries or whatnot, but it does look like this is actually wrapping up fairly quickly. NCDOT has this clearing around 5:30. I suspect this might be an earlier clear than that. We'll keep you posted here on Live Impact. James, you want to take a break? You want to get back over to
Let's
the
go
Durham?
back to that same hearing that was just
Okay.
underway.
Yeah, let's get back to the Durham Sheriff's testimony on Capitol Hill, talking about public safety.
Didn't know he was a judge. It does not take a lot of brain power to do the deduction from where the car was parked that this was a judge. That's how they operate. Why would anyone in their right mind in law enforcement want to cooperate with that kind of behavior when local law enforcement can be held civilly liable for going along with that kind of nonsense, and only federal ICE agents can hide from any civil consequences? That's the predicament that we have, and I would urge my colleagues to recognize those facts when they start, and that law, when they start throwing around terms like sanctuary cities about my capital city.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Miyares, I want to ask you, let's be clear about what we're talking about when we talk about sanctuary jurisdiction. It's not holding anyone after. It's about before they're being released, right, that local officials would notify when a rapist or a murderer or a violent criminal is being released from prison.
Correct.
And so could you just talk about that sort of how that process in your experience worked, and then also pointing out maybe in answering the question why that is an infinitely safer process for people than ICE agents having to go into communities and find the same person, right?
No question. Well, oftentimes when we use the term sanctuary cities, it's multi-layered. So we'll look at Fairfax County. You have a local board of supervisors that passed something called the trust policy that explicitly prohibits their cooperation, local officials' cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Then you have a local sheriff that also does not honor ICE detainers, and then you have a local prosecutor, in Steve Descano, who publishes on his website, he takes in your immigration status into account in his charging decisions. I've seen this firsthand because several years ago, I actually talked to ICE agents and asked them to walk through the process. And I saw this with my own two eyes. They decided, listen, you should see what we have to deal with. All they have to do is make a phone call. When the person's released, we literally meet them in the parking lot. Because I asked them, the jurisdictions that cooperate, how does this work? You have somebody that they're notified, they're being released, they get told when they're going to be released, they meet them in the parking lot. That is infinitely safer than when they're released in the community. What I saw was ICE had to put together 3 different 8-man teams to arrest people that had previously been arrested. One was on drug charges, one was on a weapons charge, one was a suspected MS-13 gang member that had been indicted on a rape charge, And a left-wing judge.
Folks,
in
our time
Fairfax
here on Live Impact is coming to a close. Of course, in just a few moments, we've got our news at 4 here on WCNC Plus, 5 and 6 to follow, and then live weather impact at 6:30. I'll see you again for Live Impact at 7. Actually, you'll have Colin tonight, but have a great night and stay tuned here on WCNC Plus.